Hello and welcome. I am early. So here we are in my yard. This is the farmer that I talk about is over here. So I don't know if this is going to work. So I'm just kind of playing with the idea. This is my tablet. And let me see where the comments are. Yeah, I got them. Okay. I have no idea if anybody's on unless you leave a comment. Okay. So anyway, here we go. This is my yard. This is my apiary house this way. So I lost my connection to the I lost my connection on my tablet when I was down in the yard. So I had to come back to the house. And I'd really like to figure out how to see if my phone will work doing what I want to do. And that is take us down to the yard. Hmm. All right, doesn't look like anybody's on yet, so that's kind of cool. All right. Add to stage. Okay. I think I figured it out. All right. Here we go. So it's a little hard for me um, to see the screen that's on my camera that's taking you out to the yard. So just give me a second. There's my fancy mower. Woohoo! Started right up for me this year. This is my bee bus that has everything on it that you would possibly want or need as a beekeeper. So, here we go. Let's see, did I lose? No. It didn't work. Yeah, Mark, we were talking about that. So what I really want to do is I want to do these lives down at the yard. And I'm trying to figure out where's Stone Pub. Okay. So now I gotta get okay. All right, I'm back. I had to shut the phone off. So anyway, I really wanted to show you guys some of the work I did out in the yard. So yesterday and today I got some little nukes. I was able to pull like I don't know, three or four deep frames out of different hives and created I think three nukes. And then hi Tom. Oh, there's Tom. Hey Tom.
Hey,
Do you see my
Nancy.
tobacco? Do you see my tobacco? I was trying do the live from the yard and it wouldn't work. It didn't want to play with my computer being on in the house and then my
Okay.
tablet or my phone going down to the yard. It didn't want to do that. So
I just finished eating dinner.
I anyway, so here I am back in the house. But so what I was saying was I was able to make up three nukes, 3 5 frames. Uh, and then I just boosted some of my 8 frames with some of the stronger hives. So basically I was just equalizing yesterday and today.
Gotcha. Well, I had an interesting day.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, last year about this time, I had this lady, Lee, call me about bees trying to get in our house. So I got over there right away and they had just got in the house. So they were already in the house. And I couldn't do the cutout, but I referred them to another friend of mine that did the cutout. So I didn't know that she was related to a friend of mine, Mike, who's a beekeeper that lives next to me. And I didn't know that he set Paul up, or Joe's his name, a hive last year from a nuke in their backyard. Well, this
Yeah.
morning so he doesn't know anything about beekeeping. Joe doesn't, or Lee.
Hi, Mike.
And Mike Nutter gives me a call today, and he goes, "Tom, that hive I got set up in a house just swarmed. It's one of my brother-in-law cousins, something like that." And I said, "Well, shoot me the address and name." Well, I get the name. I said, "I know that name." So he had to work till 5:30 or 5 o'clock today, so he couldn't get them. So I went over to the house and said hi, and I went and got the swarm for him, and I went into the hive. He hasn't gone into the hive this whole year, and he still just had him in a double deep. Had 13 queen cells, swarm cells.
Oh,
So I actually
that's
took a frame that had 7 cells on it, and
cool.
I added 2 cells on the frame to a hive that needed a queen, and I cut a couple cells out, and I got them in my incubator right now.
Hmm.
So I gave the just got done picking it up, and then I ate dinner. So I went and got a swarm for a friend of mine, friend beekeeper, from her from a relation of him that I didn't know last year that I was going to originally do a cutout for him.
Uh, small
So
world. Small world story.
yeah.
So what did you do? Did you take most of those 13 queen cells, or what
Well,
stage were they in?
I took 7 of them on one frame. I had the
Oh, okay.
most on it. Um,
That's right.
3 of them got destroyed when I split the 2 deeps. I got ripped because they were attached to the bottom deep. So that
Mm-hmm.
left 3 left, and one of them was up in the frame just a little bit, so I knew when I put the box back down, it wouldn't get destroyed. The other 2 were hanging down, And when I put them back down, they might have got destroyed. They might not have. There are two of them that are like together. So I left
Hmm.
them with three. Two on one frame that's at the very bottom of the frame, and then one that was just up on the frame for them to
Hmm.
get mated. And when I put the two boxes together, I could have destroyed two of the cells or one of the two, just because of, alignment issues.
Hi, Bill. Bill Lee.
So
Lucky Lee is on.
hey, Mike and Bill.
uh. Oh
So
wow. Okay. So you're plus 7 queen cells for your trouble.
well, yeah, one wasn't very good, so I smashed that one. It was so short.
Uh.
One I cut out, then that I tried to cut out that I failed on. So I got a couple of them, a couple queen cells,
Hmm.
and I got a frame of cap brood that was from end to end basically. So that's three frames of bees in about probably another 4 or 5 days.
So that was so you just relieved the congestion.
Well,
You
I
leave.
not really. I just said she goes, "Why don't you take some of those cells?" And I said, "Okay." I had a comb frame, so I just took a comb frame from her. She still had over a 10 frame box of bees in her hive. It was still
Hmm.
packed.
Hmm.
And the swarm only went 15 yards, 12 yards. And it was only 3 feet off the ground, so it was so. I just held my box up there, shook them right in, closed them up. There was probably only a dozen bees in that swarm that didn't make it in the box. And then 15 minutes later, they just flew back to the hive because it was just 12 yards away.
Yeah.
So it worked out. It was a win-win for everything. I got a little bit out of it. My friend Mike, he got a swarm out of it. He lost 7 out of 8 hives this
Oh.
winter. So plus, I'm giving him a queen on the 28th, and I'm giving another beekeeper a queen on the 28th when they emerge out for what I grafted. I'm just giving them away, virgin queens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's what
helping
one
out a
needs to
few
be.
beekeepers. I figure someday they'll have to help me out.
Yeah. And the first rounds aren't real. Like, aren't you on your first round? Aren't they a little more iffy or
Um,
not?
if I did them this time of year, not so much. But if I would have done them 2 or 3 weeks ago, yeah, I would have had drone population issues and quality of the cells. But I did
Mm.
mine after I already had a couple swarms in the area. So these cells were actually one of my bigger cells that I've ever grafted from. This is the first time I was 100%, 22 out of 22.
Ooh, good for you.
So
Maybe someday I'll get into that. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, and a friend of mine gave me a little um, George, who's a second generation beekeeper. He goes, Tom, 4 days before you graft, put a comb frame, one that you want to graft from, right in the center of the brood of the queen you want to graft from. So when you go into that hive to graft, take that frame out, and you'll have perfect 3.5 to 4 day larvae, half day, less than a half day larvae in it. And I had the smallest larvae I think I ever grafted. They were just hours old.
So hold on. So I know that the queen likes to lay in fresh wax. Like she'll go and lay in. So is that the concept here where you're putting a
Well,
frameless in
it's hard to
or
graft on real soft wax. So I put in a frame that's been cycled a few times, but not black. So you know
right?
how
Oh,
now they're dark burgundy red or color a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah.
So I put one of those in that where the wax is still firm and I can graft in it without going through the sides of the cells.
Yeah, I saw somebody doing that on Facebook. They had a picture of where they flattened the cells to go
Yeah.
and get that larva out. Mine is my larva is real wet finally. So I mean I was feeding too, so that's part of it, but it's
Right,
finally real wet and milky. What do they call that? Milky brood.
right.
Yeah, it looks good, and all the queens. Hey, there's Philip. All of my queens are laying real nice.
Philip. Yeah,
So hi
I
Oh,
Philip.
had
nice.
on top of the between the grafting frame, I had a pollen frame on each side, and I had food. I had more brood and food, and that box had still had 6 frames of brood in it. Plus, it was already filled with 10 frames of bees, so it was pretty packed.
Jeez.
So it worked out
My double
good.
deeps are doing good. I never had luck with double deeps, and I put on a deep after that mid March little flow that I had, and they're all doing really well. So I don't know, maybe I'll add some more double deeps now that I have the boxes. You know, I mean, I never had dead outs before, and this year I had 50%. So
Right.
I never had extra, you know, I never had extra boxes. I never had stinky comb like these dead outs. I never knew that comb was that stinky
Right.
after a dead
Right.
out, you know?
Yeah. You have dead bees in the cells. Yeah, and they
Mhm.
get
What's
moldy
up, Philip?
sometimes.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. Can I unmute you? Or you muted yourself? Let's see. Uh, yeah, I'm on a little early, or I got on a little early because I was trying to yeah, you're still, and I cannot unmute you.
Hey,
You
Nancy,
go.
I'll be right back. I'm making some tea for tomorrow, and I got to get the bags out.
All right.
Just a minute.
So yeah, I muted it because I was trying to go and work on the brightness because you and I look like we're all washed out, and Tom looks
I
great
know.
over
I'm
there.
gonna close. I'm just getting up right now to go close that this a little bit.
But yeah, I'm sitting. I have some French doors in front of me that are letting
Yeah, I
the
have
new
my
faces
big oh, that's
faces
better. Oh yeah,
faces
that's
west.
definitely better. Let me do just a little bit more.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, that's much better. I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
look
Yeah,
like a ghost.
you have some color. I don't have anything I can close. I've got some French doors with facing west.
Oh,
It's just
oh.
it is what it is
Yeah,
until the sun
I
goes
was
down.
able to close. So I tried to go down to the yard with my tablet, and then I forgot my tablet's Wi-Fi only. So then I back up, and then I went down with my phone to see if I could go through some of my colonies, or at least show you some of the colonies and a little bit about what I was doing and why they're the way they are. And so Mark was talking the other night about getting a farm, a Wi-Fi farm. What did he say here?
He says Airy Stone
Uh,
hub system.
yeah, what did he say? Oh, Air Stone Hub. Hmm.
Yeah.
I know. So I looked at them the other day, and they're from like $25 to $250. So I'll let Mark go first, see whatever Mark comes up with. But I really need like, so it's an acre and a half down back. We have 2 acres. So I only need something that's gonna cover, well, we'll say 2 acres. So it's at 80,000 feet. No, an acre is 4,200, right?
4,200
Well,
what?
plus feet. 4,200 feet is an acre.
You talking about the length of
Well,
it?
anyway, I'm trying to figure out how much space I need covered from a Wi-Fi. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
An acre is
40.
43,560 feet.
There you go. Okay. So what did I say? 40, 43.
You said
So what did I say?
4,300, but it'd be 43,560.
43,000. Yeah. Okay. Right. Add another zero. So anyway, I need something that can go, you know, say 2 acres. I don't know how they run. We have to do the homework on them. But oh, here's Mark. Oh, okay. Let's see. There he is.
Hey, Mark's got the uniform
Hi,
back on.
y'all.
It's good.
Hey, Mark.
Let's get his official
Hi,
bee suit on,
Tom,
I see.
Nancy, Philip.
Hey,
I
Mark.
got a little bit of sun today.
Yeah, you look. I
Yeah.
wish I had a little color like Mark and Tom there.
I'm
I look like a.
I had a hat
I
on
look like
most
a
of the
light
day.
bulb.
sitting beside the air condition. Can y'all hear that thing running?
Uh-uh.
Nope.
No.
No.
Okay, this headset's canceling it out. Then good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Was it Aerostone long
Yep.
range? It's a mesh system. I don't know. About $400
Oh,
for the
I'm not
for
spending
the hub,
$400.
but you
So
can link it to more hubs. So. That one long range said it'll get up to a mile away.
Oh.
So what is
Huh.
it? What is it? Is it just a router? What is it?
Yeah, basically you just hook it to your router and it has to be plugged in and just go on top of your house with it.
But it does. Does it receive the internet or does it just distribute it to
Yeah,
you?
it receives and all, yeah, for you.
So it's like a router.
Well, it just plugs into your router.
Oh.
It's just a
Right. It's the
booster,
extender.
basically.
It's an
Yeah,
extender.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I got Wi-Fi in my barn, but it's a steel barn and it doesn't make it very far on the other side.
right. That's my problem.
So I need to get something. I can if I mount one on the outside of the wall, of the steel of the barn, I should be able to get a signal that I can extend it out.
Need a problem?
Sorry, guys, I'm distracted. I don't know if y'all can hear that. My son's getting chased in the house by bees. He's trying to work on his bike, and he keeps running in, screaming, "Leave me alone!" He's about to tear stuff up.
We'll let him know we're laughing at him.
I wish I could put the camera on him. It's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
He's got that bike too.
Airstone. So I need something a little less robust than that, Mark. I'm looking for I'd like to cover 2 acres, maybe 2 acres of ground, back. So I don't need no mile.
Yeah,
But
what's neat about this system is you can link more together and get all the way across your farm. You got to start off with one. The cheaper version is like 350. So you might as well go ahead and get the long range one for 400. Well, look at it.
Right.
mm-hmm.
But Nancy, you should get it as long as you get an outdoor unit. That's probably most of them's all going to cover 2 acres.
Oh yeah.
They're made to cover a house that has walls, and you don't have any walls outside. So I think anything that's outdoor, weatherproof would work.
Okay, outdoor.
Yeah,
Write this down.
you
Outdoor.
probably have to drill you a hole or go through the eave of the house somehow or another. It'll have a cable, and it'll probably
Yeah.
have some way of plugging into the wall.
Yeah, I have electric outside, and I can I can come right through.
You
I
can
can get the
run.
cable.
You can run your Wi-Fi and that through your electric. That's how I get it out to my barn. I actually have a unit in my house, and I have the output in my barn running through my number 4 wire.
Yeah.
It's got running my 80 amps from between my barn and my house. And
So you think I could get one of those little things you just plug into an outlet, and it would cover me in my yard?
Yeah, if you got well, they got them where as long as they can get a signal through the outside of your house.
Yeah, it could.
You can get
It
an
would.
extender that plugs right into your outlet.
Yeah, and the higher you put it, the better off it'll be. Get it up.
Yeah.
Pretty high.
Yeah, I have one that's 4 feet. I've outlet. You mean the outlet?
Well, the monitor itself.
Yeah, that's up
the
on the
hub.
rafters in the basement. So like right underneath the floor of my first floor, my first story is where my router is now. Like, the beams that hold up my house. So it's
Yeah,
kind
but
of
the
stuck
one
up
you
in
put
there.
outside, you want to put it up as high as you can too. That
Hi,
way it'll reach
Charlie. I got
further.
all the guys on tonight.
I'm here.
Woohoo.
Hey, Randy.
Yep.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey,
Yeah, hi, Randy.
Charlie,
Mark.
Hey, I don't have to stay on that very long. I
You
got,
get a
I
break.
got, I got a couple cells. I got a few cells I got to check because I know those cells are ready to emerge out since they swarmed already.
Yeah, that's
I
where
got
I
to put,
was.
I got to
Just
put food in them. I got to give them some honey and some water, those cells, in
yeah, I
case
just got in
they
from being
emerge tonight. I
just got
got
in.
called to help a friend out, Mark, that swarmed, and I got the swarm. So I checked their one hive, and they had 13 capped queen cells, swarm cells. So I took one frame that had 7 cells on it and brought that home. And then 3 of them broke when I split the 2 deep boxes and left them with 3.
Oh, I got a
So
question about that. I got a question about that exact thing you just said. So the woman that is down by the city, I asked her if she could go look through, and cut out the queen cells, everything but 2, because we made 3 splits from her like 8 days ago. So she did that, but she said when she pulled the frame out that 3 of the cells broke open, right?
yeah,
So when the bees, I don't know if I've ever had this experience. If I had, I haven't really didn't put it to memory. But if they break themselves, are they completely shot, or will they fix them up,
they're shot.
or they're shot?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't know what the
they
bees.
really rip usually pretty bad. 2/3 of the way down from the cell, the whole 1/3 half is ripped off.
I think even when they're
That's,
dented a little bit, Mark, you can probably tell us more than anything, but like if I have
that's
them
when
hanging on the
they're
bottom
attached
and when
to
I
the
cut the
bottom
cell out, if it
frame.
touches the bottom frame, puts a little dent in it, I wonder if those are even any good.
I guess it depends on how far along they are. You know, if they're
Oh,
not very far along, they may be all right.
Yeah, yeah, they might. Yeah, but usually if it's after a swarm, those queen cells are going to be emerging in a couple days.
no, she so I made these splits last Tuesday. So today's day 9. So and again, I didn't see them. So I just said that, come Saturday, go back, if whatever you get, Saturday or Monday, go back out, see what the bees did with them, if they cleaned them out, tore them down, because they're hopeless now at this point. So she's going to report back to see what they look like, and then add another frame of eggs to get her split fixed up again. But I was just curious, what they. I told her, let's see what the bees do with them. So it's a good learning experience. I mean, for me and her, I guess. But uh, I mean, I'm sure I've done it, but I was able to have other cells in there, so I didn't really, think about it. But so I'm glad she screwed up a little bit so that she can walk through the steps of, creating again. So
What's really
Mark,
amazing about this hive, it had no reducer on it, and they didn't have an inner cover on it, and all it was the lid, and they had a sugar brick that was like a 1/4 inch tall by about the size of a softball for them for overwinter. This hive was still in overwinter mode. So they had insulation wrapped around it and everything, which I took off, and they were packed. So with a wide open entrance and basically no extra food on it, they made it through winter from a nuke the previous year. So
huh.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, I guess they have good genetics.
Yeah,
I don't
they
wrap
had
mine
good,
at all anymore.
right.
Just
well,
don't.
um, Our grafting experience has gone over the cliff, crash and burn. Yeah. I don't know. I was on Charlie's show and I was telling you guys that, I'd put some, tried to boost them with some cap brood, and they chose that. They found some young enough cells to make queen cells out of. So out of our first 28, they only took one of our cells and made it into a queen cell.
Yep.
We let them cap that one. I went in and knocked everything down that they had made. We went in and took that one after 6 days, just like I think Charlie recommended, and we put it in its own split, and we immediately grafted again. Well, this time my son got 15 out of 18 to take, and I got 5 out of 10 to take. So we had a whole bunch of cells that had started. I was checking them after 3 days, I think, that time. And so we were going to check on some more queens that were about ready to emerge. And I said, well, let's look at our cell bar. This was on like day 6 after we had grafted.
Mm-hmm.
The bees had torn every cell down. So I said, there's got to be a virgin running around in here.
Yep.
Yep.
Hi, Brian.
We tore that
Yeah.
thing apart. We tore it apart looking for the virgin. And I shook it down. I shook all the bees down through a queen excluder looking for her. And then my son goes, oh, there's a gap over here. So there's a gap in front. So I took them all the frames back out. I put a queen excluder on the bottom of the hive, shook them on a board in front of the hive and let them all crawl in.
Oh, geez.
Came out the next morning and there was a ton of drones under there, but I still couldn't find a queen under there.
Well, a virgin queen will go right through a queen excluder.
Could be it. I don't know. But so finally we just put it all back together and I stuck something in there with eggs and brood in it just to see if they would start drawing. I said, if they start drawing that, we probably managed to kill her somehow. But if they don't, then we know she's still in there. So that's where we are.
And Philip, you got to make sure you put all your brood in 6 days ahead of time. And before you graft, then you check for cells and you shake all the bees off your brood frames, then check for cells and destroy them.
The next time I do this, even if I'm going to try to get a cloak board, but even if I don't have a cloak board, I'm going to put the queen below, put a queen excluder on it, put the brood above, let them come back up through the queen excluder, wait 6 or 7 days, and then go through and check for cells.
Right.
And get out ahead of that a little bit, because they shouldn't try to draw cells, but they sometimes will, even if you put a queen excluder.
And use nothing but plastic foundation. Use those ones that got starter strips on them. Sometimes they put those on the end and they're hard to find.
Yeah, they did.
Hey, Good Enough. I don't remember Good Enough's first name. So he's just Good Enough. Oh, Charlie, we had 2 really new people on last night on Tom's chat. So we got to add them to the list. Maybe they'll be on tonight. Kirk. Hey, Good Enough. Kirk.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be on tonight, but we found 2 completely new newbies. Tennessee and Ohio.
Last night was Tom's chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Bob ever come on then?
Bob's he's not even coming on at 10 o'clock anymore.
Oh, geez. Oh, well.
So I cut it off at 10 o'clock last night. 2 hours is long enough.
I think I faded at 9:30. I think I went on at 9:30. Okay. What's DC saying here? I'll blow it up.
Yeah, Brian, or Good Enough from Connecticut.
Oh. What did you say about Connecticut, Charlie?
That's where Kirk's from. Good Enough.
Oh, Kirk is from Connecticut. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one on from Tennessee, somewhere in Tennessee, and then Ohio last night. But I didn't write them down because I was in bed, so I never wrote down the names. I don't know, Tom, if you remember.
No, I don't remember either. Shoot, I forgot to post the link until you got on. Where's your link? So
That's right. You were on by yourself, so I wanted to come on with you.
yeah.
So, Mark, what did you get done? You had a toothache, so you weren't feeling all spiffy. But did you get out in the yard today?
I got out there yesterday and I pulled the cells I had and got them in the incubator. And then I took two of my builders and I requeened them. So that
Mm.
left me with two. I had four. And I grafted 60 in them two. I got that done.
That's good.
Today I ain't done nothing in the bees. I've been burning trash and tractor work and pretty much all day, cleaning out chicken house.
Oh,
A lot of work.
yeah.
So are you
So
feeling
you can
better?
burn
You
where you're
feeling better,
at.
Mark?
Yeah, it's starting to get a little better, Charlie. They give me some gel to put down in that dry socket and then
Mm-hmm.
put the gauze down in there and keep it in there. That's helping. And every time you eat, you got to wash your mouth out and redo it. But it's helping. So,
That's good.
Yeah, do you wash it out with some salt water?
well, I can't when I do the gel. He said just use
Not
regular
yet.
water. You know. Um,
He's
but
got
that's
dry
what I
socket.
started. That's what I started out doing. But I guess I just didn't leave it packed long enough. And
Mm-hmm.
smoking on top of that, that's what caused it. Smoking. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but if you'll pack it, you can smoke because then you ain't getting the smoke into it.
But yeah, I gotta let Louie out.
Just
Give me
best
one
not to
second.
smoke.
Hey
Yeah.
Philip, I haven't seen your YouTube yet. I've been too busy. And too many of them.
All I've been doing is like little shorts. I hadn't done anything.
Okay. I'll
long.
get to it eventually.
I basically have like one swarm catch that releases each day.
Okay.
I had 4 builders, which is really too much for me to tend to, but Dwayne was helping me. And I went out there yesterday, and the one was the first one I started. I think I killed the queen in it, and I opened it up. And they had some emergency cells. I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna graft in this thing. So I did, and it started dwindling away, and I noticed the cells wasn't very good. So I just pushed it down into one box, grafted in it again. I don't know. I think I put 30 or 40 in there. I went back yesterday and they had drawn the cells out, put gel in the cells, but they were every one of them all the way across there were runts. I mean, they were all
Hmm.
runts and they were all packed full of jelly and they shouldn't have been. I mean, they should have consumed the royal jelly. So I knew immediately when I seen them they wasn't no good. So I looked in there. Sure enough, it was a land worker. So
Oh,
I had to take every bit of that cone, and I just took the box off. I went over here to a queen in a box in a one box, moved her over there to it, and then I took another box off of that other builder that I had. It was 2 boxes, so I just took a box off of it, set it on top of the queen, took the box full of drones that was full of bees, just shook them out on the ground. And then I took that box in the house or in the honey house because I don't want them drones anyway. So I fixed that
hmm.
problem.
Yeah.
But the
So
sales wasn't no good.
Yeah.
I had a laying worker once, and I just took the frames and stuck them in a strong hive, and they righted themselves.
Yeah.
But I'm not a breeder. I'm not trying to do what you're doing, Mark. So it's a
So when
little.
you do that, Nancy, does they kill them? Does the regular bees kill those ones that are laying workers?
No, it shuts the ovaries back off of the laying
Yeah.
workers. Shuts them back down.
Yeah.
A strong queen, a strong colony will shut them down. Now, again, you're not putting in more frames of, laying worker than you are the strong hive. So you only have, 4 or 5 frames. You stick them on, a 10 frame, you'll be okay. But that strong queen will write the ovaries back, turn their ovaries back off, and then you won't lose those bees.
Right.
You know.
You just got a box. You just got a box full of drones.
Yeah, but those drones are viable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are. But I didn't want these drones, so.
No, I know. You got a whole different situation. I got to go get the plug for my computer.
I heard it was the brood smell that shut them down.
What I've always done in the past, if I didn't shake them all out, I would just take a double screen board and set it up on top of a good hive, and then take that hive and that's full of drone layers and set it up on that double screen and give them some larvae to make a queen out of. As soon as you set them up on that double screen, it's just, you could see the difference in them. Just, because that brood pheromone's coming up.
Right.
Really?
And it would fix the problem, yeah.
Oh, so you're saying it's the brood pheromone?
Yeah.
Yeah, the open brood.
You can just set them up on top of a good colony with a double screen board, Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I only had it once, and I didn't want to waste. I didn't want to waste them. I didn't want to waste the drones. So,
right.
But I didn't know. I thought I assumed it was the queen, the strong queen. But you're saying it was the brood. Same.
I've also heard of people taking a nuke, a laying queen in a pretty decent nuke, and using newspaper, putting it over the top of the drone layers and dropping those 5 frames in the middle of a 10 frame box. And said when they cut through that newspaper, they'll smell that open brood and they'll correct themselves.
That's about the same thing I did. But
yeah,
what I did, I just moved a good queen over to that spot, moved a box that was a builder on top of that queen, and then shook all them drone layers out on the ground.
Right. And they'll spread out through all your hives, the drones.
Yeah, they'll figure it out.
Yep.
I got to move some bees tonight.
Out.
Who wants to come and help me move bees tonight?
Well, I won't get there till tomorrow.
I would, Mark. I'm too far away.
Even if I left now, I wouldn't get there till 9 o'clock in the morning.
I got to get some divider boards that I got drying out, and I got to feed 2 queen cells with some honey and some water just in case they emerge out tonight, since I don't know.
Hi, Grayson.
Yeah.
Grayson, I thought you were on earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, Grayson was on earlier.
But as far as fixing a laying worker like that, I don't think I've really actually had anybody put out a definitive way of doing it, except for shaking them out on the ground and be done with it.
Yeah, like I said, you can use that double screen board. It works.
Yeah.
Just set them up on top of a good colony. And
well, it depends if you want drones or not.
Give them some larvae, that they can build a cell out of. And you'll lose some of the bees that are in there because you moved them, but you won't lose them all.
Yeah, I don't know why shaking them out. What shaking them out would have done? Like, why would anybody? I mean, I've heard that too. I mean, that's the old way. But what did that accomplish? Like,
Nancy, the laying worker bees don't know where home is, where all the other bees do, because they've been foraging back and forth. So when you shake them on the ground away, those bees that are being the laying worker won't know where to go. And all the other bees will fly back to where they came from. The non-laying worker bees.
So
shake them out.
Why? So why do the laying workers not know where home is? Because you moved it?
because they haven't been flying for the last 3 days. They've been laying. So they
haven't
lose
left
track of
the
where their
house,
home
Dave.
is.
But
Well,
they
my-
weren't
my-
out flying before. Because the nurse. Because they've only ever been nurse bees.
Well, no, bees only have a 3-day memory. So once they're in that hive for 3 days, if you have a thunderstorm or you get below freezing cold weather for 3 days, even your foragers will reorient because they don't know where they came from.
So I didn't know the 3-day rule. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I never heard of that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. You if
Well-
you want to move within the same apiary, lock them up for 3 or 4 days.
I
Let
never
me-
do
3
it.
nights.
Let
3
me,
days,
Never
3
done it.
nights.
I've moved. I've done splits in my own apiary. I've caught swarms in my own apiary. I've never taken anything off. I've never put branches in front of them. I never did any of that. I just put larva, eggs, and brood in that box, and they don't leave.
Now,
Well,
They orient.
your foragers go back to your original hive.
let me question what you're saying there, Tom. I had 2 colonies that I moved 21 miles,
Okay.
left them there. These actually were going to be my breeders. I took them. They were on the end of my deck out here in front of my building, and I wanted them over in the bee yard. So I took them out 21 miles, left them there for, I think, 10 days.
1 mile or 21?
21.
Okay, that's fine.
Left them there 10 days, brought them back and put them in the yard where I wanted. The next day, I go out there. There's nothing on the deck where they were, but there's 50 to 100 bees doing orientation flights right where those bees came from 10 days prior. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it.
I've seen
I was watching them. I was
colonies
like,
move.
why would they be right there doing that? I don't know.
I don't know
I've
either.
taken
Unless a few
colonies.
of them had a memory of that spot.
They only have 3 days.
So if I move a
Good.
colony like to another a friend's house, like say I sell a nuke, right? I sell a 5-frame nuke. Within 20 minutes, they're bringing in pollen. How does that work?
Well, they find it. They smell it.
Huh.
Well, the bees that I saw coming back to that spot and doing orientation flights looking for something didn't read the books. What's that puppy dog doing?
Sorry.
He thinks that
I've never heard that 3-day memory. In all
I heard it was
heard
more
of it.
like
When
7. But
when you
still.
do a split, Nancy, did you put a screen, pulled your brood or your frames out that you wanted to split with, put it over top of a queen excluder, let them populate?
Mm-mm.
No.
I put them right in a 5-frame box
You know,
wherever I
Charlie,
put 'em, you know,
those foragers fly back, but by the time that queen cells emerge and all that, she's got new foragers in that split.
No, my foragers aren't going anywhere because I have brood. I have open brood, eggs, and larvae in there. They're not going anywhere. They're staying with the nursery.
Yeah, so if you move them to your split, they'll just go right back to the mothership.
Yeah, that's true.
But you'll have new foragers a week to 2 weeks later just because the nurse bees are turning into foragers.
I really wish I got to get this to work. I got to get this to work down in my yard because
It's
I
no
could
big
show
deal.
you three splits. I'm gonna get something where I can run this down. That was my whole plan, is to do these lives from my yard. But I'd love to be able to pop the lids on the splits I did today and see what their population is, or even watch, but with that brood and larva in there, I don't think they leave. I think they stay
I think the foragers probably do. That's probably like 20%.
because it's
of
their
the bees.
brood, it's their larva, it's their eggs, it's their scent. They have
Yeah.
no reason to leave. They're not leaving the nursery.
They're
You
not
know?
doing it on. They're not doing it intentionally, Nancy. They're programmed to go to a spot when they leave, and when they come back, they go back to that old spot. It doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with the brood.
Right.
Uh,
But
It's just,
it's not
it's
an
just a
issue,
memory.
Nancy, because 2 weeks later, your split that you made will have
Yeah.
forager bees because
yeah.
some of the nurse bees became forager bees during
You can
that
also-
2 week period
If
when
you'll
that
shake,
queen's being created.
if you'll shake 2 frames of nurse bees in your split, you've compensated for the lost foragers right there. On a
Yeah.
usually on a 5-frame split.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because a
Just need enough
third of
bees
those
to
nurse
cover-
bees
to cover
become
the-
foragers, the older ones.
Yeah. You just need enough to, I mean, there was tons of bees on these frames today.
So
I
that's,
took them
I
right
tell my
out of the middle.
beekeepers when they want to make splits, don't worry about closing them up for 3 days. You can,
Uh-uh.
but it doesn't make that big of a difference.
I wouldn't do it. Too
No.
hot.
Not
here.
if you
never
got
done it.
nurse bees. If you did it right,
Yeah.
you
You
won't
don't
have a
have
problem.
mostly nurse bees anyway.
That just
You
seemed
don't
like
have to
work.
shake. You don't have to shake bees in there, in my opinion. Unless I usually do if I'm moving a queen cell.
Depends on how cold it is.
I'll usually
Yeah.
shake a few just to give them a little extra to make it until that queen gets out and gets.
I just don't
Yeah.
like shaking bees ever. I don't like the
Well, do it with
regurgitation.
Oh, I
a
that
queen
forgot
happens.
that. I'm a
excluder.
shaker and you're a mover.
Do it with- make a split with a queen excluder.
Yeah.
And then all you get is nurse bees. And I just did 6 splits where I'd put it over a queen excluder. All I had was great population of nurse bees. I closed them up for a couple of days, but it's gotten hot here. And they pretty much, I opened them back up and I haven't lost any. I mean, the population is in there. Of course, I did apply a caged queen in there, but
Mm.
even before that, they didn't leave. If you don't like the best way I found is number 1, you don't have to look for a queen. Number 2, you get nurse bees when you use the queen excluder method.
Yeah, the only time you get forager bees is when you move the food frame. There'll be bees on it.
If you're going to go up there and shake bees into a box that, it's your split, if they're foragers, they're going back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
it doesn't make any difference.
If you put the frames that you want in your split in a box, put that box over top of the donor hive, over top of a queen excluder on the donor hive, the nurse
Mhm.
bees will come up, populate
10
those
minutes.
frames. You can do that in 30 minutes. You'll have enough bees. Or if it's in the evening, come back the next morning and you got perfect amount of bees in there. And then just pull the
Westcliff.
box off, put it on top of your bottom board, and you're done.
Well, see,
So,
like the other day, I had
Hey,
some
John.
help. Had 2 guys helping me, Matt Ramsbottom from St. Louis and Dwayne, my neighbor. And
Mhm.
they showed up on Saturday. Well, it was going to take too long to set up like Charlie's talking about. So we just flew into them and started making splits. And I would look it for the queen, hand it to Matt, let him look for the queen. If it was a brood, set it. If it was a food, set it. And we just done splits that way all the way along. We did like 45.
Mm.
And out of that bunch, we got 1 queen.
Pretty good.
So
That's really good.
not
Wow.
too bad.
You mean as far as transferring the queen over to the new box?
Yeah, we wound
Okay.
up getting 1 queen out of the bunch. And that was easy to tell because I went up there to all my splits, and the one that had the most bees in it, there was a queen there. Because all of them went to
Yeah.
where that queen was.
Imagine that.
I had one
Yeah.
that I would have sworn I moved a queen into, but I went and looked at them and I didn't. But all the loose, confused bees that I brought from the farm, they all went to like 2 hives. It was way out of whack.
I got 5 hives that are about 30 inches, entrances about 30 inches apart right now. Well, I took nukes out of them on Monday. And it's kind of funny watching. All the bees are coming out on front because they don't know what to do. because they don't have a queen anymore. And I watch bees, they're all kind of joining together in front, all 5 hives. I see bees just crossing from one hive to the other hive.
That's what when you do like a 3-frame split like I did, which actually it's a 2-frame split but there's 3 frames. I had a frame of brood with bees on it, and I had a frame of food with bees on it, and then I had just a empty frame. So 3, but when that frame of brood hatches out, it fills that cavity up.
Oh yeah, it's 3 frames.
Yeah.
Each frame's 3 frames of bees.
Kirk,
There's good.
Hey, how you
Hey.
doing?
Hey, Kurt.
I've watched
welcome. Nice to
Um,
see you again.
Kirk's videos.
Yeah, Mark. On the 28th, I should have virgin queens. I'm going to mark them and then put them in each one of the hives. There, I'll check for
So
sales.
Brian,
Make them
Sorry,
cockless
sorry,
and queenless. All
so
right.
how do you know if they're
My question-
regurgitating or not?
How do you know they're
Brian.
regurgitating?
What's the evidence of with just shaking them? Would I mean? How do you know? Like that's what I
I'm trying
that's
to
what
figure out
I
something.
just never
Well,
really.
I do
Why I
know
don't like
if you shake them really hard, you're going to bust their gut. If you,
Yeah,
if you go a little bit like where you kind of like shake
Vibrate
yeah,
them.
inside.
If you
Yeah.
put your ear down real close to them, you'll hear
Oh,
them saying,
They'll
stop!
tell you.
you'll hear them saying Ralph. You'll hear them yelling
You'll have
Ralph.
to you have to pull their hair up. You have to pull
Or
their
they
hair,
might
hold
be
their hair out of the way.
they might be playing Wheel of Fortune. I'll take the
I just
Buick.
look for that dirty look of the bees. They come back and give me a dirty look.
Yeah. Philip, the way I did them splits the other day, I did the same thing what you're talking about, a frame of brood, a frame of food, and a foundation. And I did 3 in a box, and then I would do 2 shakes on that main box, just across it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
and then put the lid on it.
That's
Put
a
it
good
on the
strong
tractor.
Yeah.
mating split.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just talking about, sometimes you see people really just going
Yeah, if
crazy
you shake
nuts,
'em
and it's
really
like,
hard,
you're
you'll
really
feel it.
harming. And if those bees are sick already, you're just spreading that all throughout the hive.
What do you
So
think
there's-
about
there's a
what do you
way-
Well,
think
it's
there's a
about
gonna,
way
if
popping
they're
that
sick, it's
frame?
gonna spread anyway, regardless of what you do.
What do you think about dropping that frame and it stops and all the bees go down? I do that all the time. Or take the box where they're on the inside of the box and turn it about a 30-degree angle and pop it down. And one pop gets them all off.
I see people when they get packages, they say, shake it real hard and then shake them down. All you got to do is get the queen, put her in the bottom box, take your frames out of your top box, flip it upside down, set it on your frames, put the jar next to it, and come back the next day, and all those bees will be down by the queen, and then all those frames.
Yeah.
Then you just remove the box, put your frames back in, and you're done. No
I see
shaking.
Kirk is back. There you go. Something happened there. You disappeared for a second.
I'm trying, but everything's repeating over and over again. I'm trying to figure
Well,
out what's
turn
going
off
on.
your
So
You
what you
gotta-
want to do is
You got to
go
turn off
over
your
and
YouTube.
turn off your
Yeah.
YouTube. You have YouTube open somewhere. Turn it off or just turn the volume.
Turn the
Right.
volume off.
That worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
didn't realize
YouTube
that.
has a delay in it. 3 or 4 minute delay.
Okay. Yes, everything's good now. What was happening is someone would say something, that it would repeat and then repeat. I was like, oh my God.
Echo, echo, echo.
Yeah. I know I'm a little late to the party here, but I just moved 2 hives about 2 weeks ago. And I talked about last time, it was about 50 degrees out. The bees weren't even flying at that point. It was overcast. It was kind of chilly for them. I moved them into their new location, only about 30 feet away. They were using the upper entrance, so I use upper entrances. That's a different discussion. But they were only using the upper entrance. So I figured that if I put a cork in the upper entrance, they would use the lower entrance and reorient. The next day later, I saw probably about 100 bees over in the original location, looking for their home or whatever. I said, not a big problem. You know, they'll figure it out or whatever.
Right.
And the next week later, everything, well, actually the next day later, those bees were gone. So either they disappeared and perished or they went back to their hive. Not sure where they went.
They
But
went back to the hive.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And everything was fine. So I think we really want to make these hive moves overcomplicated, but the bees will figure it out.
Yeah.
One thing I've told people is that if you're moving it and you're afraid you're going to lose foragers, throw some food on there for, you know, a week or so, and because the foragers are providing you with food. So if they don't have it, feed them. So.
Right. I typically move all my hives pre-spring when it's still, I know there's going to be a whole week of cold, not real cold weather, but 30-degree weather. That way I don't even have to worry about it because they're not going to fly for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, the next
we should be in the clear here.
Nothing.
Yeah, we had warm weather within a couple days of that, but
yeah,
we went in the hives last Friday and everything was fine.
Yeah, the bees when they leave that hive to go back to where they thought they need to be, they know where they left from. So when by evening time, when they find out they don't have their home there, they go back where they came from.
Yeah.
And the next day there'll be a few because they're just stubborn old bees. And then after about 2 days, there's none.
Yeah.
So I have a story when I would, well, I got it's saying that my battery's running, but I have it plugged in. Back when I used to run upper entrances, my first year or two, I had one colony and they just did not use the bottom entrance at all. Well, two different stories. They wouldn't use the bottom entrance at all. And I was too green to even realize that, you know, maybe I should check it out. So eventually I did check it out. The one hive had a dead mouse in the bottom. So they were avoiding that situation using the upper entrance. And then the next one I opened up, it had a solid bottom. It had about 1.5 inches of water on the bottom board. So that's another reason they were using the bottom. But now I run screen, you know, that was my first year or two. I was still just trying to figure things out.
Right.
But I run screens now just for the ventilation in the area that I'm at. It just makes sense to run screens. And I have some feral cats now in my yard. So hopefully, and snakes. I try to get anybody that has a snake to bring it over here so and take care of those mice, those farm mice I have.
Hey, Nancy, I'm going to hop off for a couple minutes. I got to take care of this couple cells and get some stuff out. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, and I'm not going to be home.
I got to plug this in again. I don't know why it's not plugged in, but yeah. Okay, Tom. Well, thanks for coming. Come back if you can.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I gotta get a drink.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's see what's going on over here in the
chat. Well, I've got 20, I think 20 splits to check on for Queen Right. I was going to do it Friday, but I think I'm going to wait till Monday or Tuesday. Friday was going to be a little bit too soon.
So Tom said he's getting rain. I usually follow Tom there in Ohio. But this Thursday, I think tonight, let's see here. I'm finally getting my 50 degrees and above. Well, now, yeah, so tonight's 47, tomorrow's 49, then we go 58 on Friday. That's that warm front coming through. So now it's changed a little bit. It's back to 46, but I'm almost hitting that 50 degree at night. So that's why I went with my splits now, because I wanted to relieve congestion and then get ahead of, you know, once I know that those nighttime temperatures they're 50-ish, you know, and then running from there. So I took a gamble and just did three I think I did 3 splits. in five frames, and then I boosted one I had a little patch of brood. Oh, what do you got there?
That's
Well,
our
you're
forecast.
Texas. Yeah, I can't really see it, but you're above Dallas, so
The low in the next week is 65, and the high low is 70. Mostly it's 67, 69 in the low. It's over 80
yeah,
every
well
day.
you're north of Dallas,
Nancy,
right?
up there where
Yeah, I
you're
agree
at,
with you.
Nancy.
You know, Tom talks about moving the hive when it's cold. Well, yeah, if you're removing the whole nuke, you're not making a split, you're repositioning. But now's the time to
Mark,
take your nuke, and if you want to make multiple splits, you got the right kind of weather here.
Right.
yeah.
And
What
The
were you gonna say, Mark?
the splits you made, Nancy, if you give them drone cone, or will they make honey before the end of the year where you're at? Your splits,
Oh
will they
yeah.
make honey?
Oh yeah.
That late
Oh
honey.
no, not late, honey. They'll. So we're not into flow yet. I don't get a fall flow here, like really at all. A little something, but not nothing worth extracting most of the
Yeah.
time. But yeah. So yeah, I drone flood, so I have a lot of drone comb. So right now when I'm managing, I'm taking that drone comb and making sure it's on the outside for them to backfill. Well,
Right.
either lay drones or backfill with honey for winter. Yeah.
question
Yep.
on that. You're doing that dunes class. Um, Underwood said when she was at our club or zooming in, she was saying put the drone comb in the third position, and then she talked about either put no more than 2 drone frames in. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, 1 frame, but no more than 2. But is she talking deep frames? Is what she's probably talking about?
Well, it's whatever you run, and it doesn't. So it's whatever
Well,
you run, Charlie.
well,
So you
what I'm noticing is I put 1 medium drone frame in, and it
yeah
reduced the drone burr cone, I'll say by half. And I was wondering whether to go ahead and put a
yes
second one
yes
in. And I'm thinking
yes.
to myself, equal space as far as a deep versus 2 mediums will equal deep.
So if your colonies are strong and
They
you have
do
a
a little
strong
more than
flow,
that, Charlie.
you can put two in. They'll let you know. They'll let you know. But until that's drawn out and they build that drone comb,
Well,
I want it.
they filled it.
So once it's built, like I want it in the kind of in the middle more. Like when they're pulling it for me, I want it closer in the center, so
Yeah.
they know it's there and they do what I want them to
Well,
do
that's
with
what
it.
she was
And
saying.
then
Put it in the third position.
Yeah.
not
It
when
wasn't.
you're pulling it. So after it's pulled, then I'll move it out. I'll move it all the way out to the walls. Because they'll either like drone in it or they'll put honey in it. Either way, but drone comb and I do the story frames like Brad. Like I put a third of plastic
Right.
in the center, and then on the sides they get to draw out whatever they want. So half of that's usually worker, and the bottom half is drone. And
Well, I
there's
was
even
thinking
little
about buying
drone.
another 20 frames.
No, no,
And,
no, no, no. Just use your own frames.
you know,
Or wait. Do you use plastic?
mm,
Cut
Oh,
them in half.
I use wood foundation.
Why wouldn't you just put a empty frame in there with a starter strip? They'll build it out to whatever they want.
could.
I don't want the whole thing. I don't want the whole right. So I just followed Brad from Manitoba, and he talked about putting I cut a deep plastic in half,
hmm
stick it in the center, and so it's in thirds. It just is a little more stable than a solid no foundation starter strip. It's just a little more stable in the
Okay.
Yeah,
summer
I like that
or
method. It
whenever.
works good. But I'll
Hmm?
put that in like a good hive that I want drones from. I'll put 2 of them in there. But the ones that I don't really care much about the drones, I don't put anything in there because I actually like for them to draw drones in between the boxes because when I pick that box up, I immediately
Yeah.
know if it's got a lot of mites in it.
I know.
Right
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
I can just start picking around. I know it's clean or it's not, and
Now,
move on to
yes,
the next.
and there's a disclaimer for these drone frames. You better be an experienced beekeeper with your mite treatment under control and have confidence in your mite treatments. So drone flooding is not for, you know, 4 years and under, I'd say, because you really want to have your mite treatment down pat.
It can
You know what I'm
be
saying?
overrun you with mites really fast if you don't know what
Right,
you're doing.
right. So when I sell nukes or I'm teaching new people or I don't talk to them about drone flooding at all. Like that's not part of of their conversation. So if you're a young beekeeper, you might not be ready for that sort of thing, right?
Hey, Charlie,
Yeah.
it takes 1.51 mediums to equal one deep. So it's 1.5, basically.
1.5 mediums to make a deep.
Yep.
I'm not surprised, Philip. I am not surprised.
I just looked up the size of foundation from Dadant and did the math real quick.
Yeah.
Well,
I was thinking it was a third because I always think of 6 and 9 and
Yeah.
33% more. But it's
No, Charlie, I would run. I would run. I would put, yeah, because then it really cuts back on all of that, because they need drones. They want to make drones.
well, I'll tell
So
you,
all of that
I
drone.
I had a bunch of them given to me from that one
Yeah.
guy that helps me out, and I've mentored him, and he didn't know what they were for, and I'm like, I'll take those, and
Yeah.
so and he uses deeps, and I use mediums anyway. So I over the winter time, I took my wax and I waxed the snot out of them
Yeah.
because if you put them in there right from the factory, they won't do diddly squat with them.
Mm-mm.
And I
Yep.
waxed the heck out of them. I dropped them things in there, I think last fall in some of them. And the ones that I didn't have them in versus the ones that I did, it was like half the amount of, you
Mhm.
know, frames being stuck and all that stuff. And so anyway, I'm thinking about going up to Ike's, and I don't know.
Mm.
I went through here this past week, and I had 4 nukes left out of my insurance hives, as I call them. And I took a 5th nuke down the line and turned it into a 10 frame production hive. And so anyway, I took 2 of those nukes and I took 2 splits off of them. And I'm trying to rebuild my insurance, up to 8 nukes at least. And I where am I going with this? Anyway, I got queens that came in Sunday night. I put them in Monday. And I did my queen excluder split where you have good population, and it seemed like because they were nurse bees, they stayed with that high. They, like you say, I did lock them up for a few days, but didn't seem, and unlocked. I put some pine needles in front of them, but I checked them here this evening, and they seem to be, content where they're at. And then I actually made a couple other splits. I went down to my Demery highs where I had, fresh brood frames up in the top. Of course, all the bees up there were nurse bees. And I've had some pro nukes that I had bought nukes from last year. And they work out great when it comes to when you're walking stuff up and down. They got a bottom to them. I took the nurse bees that were on the inner cover, shook them into that box. For me, it's like people can talk about things, but when you actually see it happen, then it really
Yeah.
makes it makes an impression on you where they talk about, well, the nurse bees don't get up and fly. And people really don't explain them type things to other newer beekeepers. Like, you're taking a couple bees for, let's say, a test. Well, the nurse or the foragers will fly away. The ones that are still sitting there are the nurse bees. Well, I took and shook them nurse bees in that pro nuke, and they just sat there, like, maybe a few of them flew, but sat there. And then I pulled enough brood frames out of the top of them hives. I think I made up two additional nukes, and I actually made 3 additional nukes, and so I made up one that I think I'm going to turn it into a production hive, because I wanted to go from, I had 16 production hives, and because of the amount of honey I need to have, I think I'm going to jump it up to 18 this year. And hopefully I'll have, if all 18 produce like I want them to do, I'll have enough honey, I think, or close to it. And I got enough for my nuke population, be about 8 or 9 nukes. So it's interesting. I mean, as far as, I went out there, the one nuke, and it's only so many boxes tall and it's only 5 frames. I'm like, well, shoot, I should be able to find the queen. No, it's just, I find, the best thing to do is shake all them darn bees off of them frames you want, put that queen excluder on there, put that box on top, and come back the next day or come back in an hour and then pull the box off, and you got the right amount of bees and you got the right kind of bees. And it seems like those nurse bees, if you get pure nurse bees on there, they don't want to fly back to home as easy as if you're shaking frames of bees. What do they be? Nurse, foragers, who knows? What are we doing here?
Trying to, what do you see?
Bell Farm.
All right. So this is, I wanted to wait till you were done, but I was just clicking some buttons. This is really cool. I found, and I don't know how I found it.
DC's wording there so you can see the rest of the screen.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I got to go back. Gotcha. Thanks, Charlie. Here.
There you go.
This is really cool. So where you're going here is, I don't know if it's iowabees.com, right? Iowa Bees. Go over here to free tools. Slide down. You're going to see
sugar,
a syrup calculator,
mm-hmm.
walkaway split calculator,
yeah,
grafting date calculator. So this was interesting to me as far as trying to explain it to my mentees. Look at that queen cell. If anybody, your queen cells look like little peanuts. There's a cup, looks like, but so anyway, so down here, put your date. We'll just say it's today.
Yeah.
Now, that's my tree guy. So date for walkaway split. It's today. So you go down the 5th, Virgin Queen emerges. So what's that? Your 16 days there? 15? I don't know what they're doing here, but then you go here. Virgin Queen goes on orientation flights. Queen mating flight window 1, 2, and 3. Start oxalic, which I think is a great idea. Here's tells you when to start your 7-day oxalic. And then check for presence of eggs. Last day of oxalic. Combine with queen right. Isn't that neat? I never saw it spelled out like that.
Yeah, that's handy.
Does it say check for eggs? Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
there you
tell
go, the
new beekeepers.
19th.
I would add
The
new.
19th.
I would tell new beekeepers to add 3 days to that because they're probably not going to be able to see the eggs. 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, not only
Right.
that, sometimes it takes them a week longer. I don't know why that is, but sometimes you can go out there thinking you're going to see eggs and then just leave them for another week and then they're laying.
That's why I say good enough.
Well,
Much,
Mark, I think possibly because there's some so say here the 7th, 8th, and 9th is windy and cold. You got to take those 3 days out of your equation,
Right.
right? Say the 10th, 11th, and 12th are or whatever, not good flight days. You got to take them out of the equation. So then I mean, yeah, you tweaking it, but I just thought this was neat for I don't know, quick, you know, something quick.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it had the buffer built in because a lot of times, if it's good weather, that queen's doing orientation flights on day 1, and she's getting mated on day 2 versus day 5, or at worst case.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, right,
she's
but
got to
I mean, yeah,
mature. You need to give her a week to mature at least.
4 days, 4 to 6 days.
When I was grafting
yeah,
queens, the most important date I was tracking is when they were going to emerge, because you don't want all of those queens emerging in your hive at once. So
Yeah,
you either gotta take the cells out or put a roller around them or something. But you need to act
yeah.
around day 12, or
So what
else you're
else
gonna
they
have a
had?
big mess.
well, I let
This
all,
year?
Kurt, I let all mine emerge out. They were all in those roller cages.
Yeah, that's what I
So
do.
I make
Good
sure
enough.
they
We
got
call that
6
a virgin rescue.
and they got wings. Then I mark them. The year's marking, and then I put them in the hives.
Yeah, I wasn't marking. What I was doing is dropping them into a mating nuke. So I would put
It sells
two
in.
two frames into a nuke, and I was fooling around with whether I was doing those 2-frame nukes or doing 5-frame nukes. But I would leave
Right.
them alone for about 2 weeks, and you go back in later, and pretty high success rate of mating. But yeah, the big key is just leave them alone, and for about 2 weeks.
Nancy, go back to
Right.
that cell, Nancy, that he was holding up.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Uh, okay. Yep.
Can you zoom in on that?
Uh,
Every one of them are full of royal jelly,
Yep.
and they're capped. I would be scared of them
why is that, Mark?
because they're full of royal jelly.
Yeah.
so tell us how you know that.
See it?
We'll see the
If they're
yellow.
uncapped, if they're uncapped and they're not quite capped yet, yeah, I can see it being full of royal jelly. But them are pretty far along. They should have done consumed all that royal jelly. Like that third one right there, you can see it's consumed a little bit. But look at
Yeah.
how full the rest of them are.
That's what
Right.
that's what they were always saying about full of rule jelly. But like you say, Mark, when the ones I've done, they're
Oh,
just
we're looking up here. Oh, we're
yeah,
look. Sorry, Char.
that
We're
yellow
looking up.
light stuff.
I got it. I see it.
Yeah. Those are
Okay.
all. Those are all dead queens, except for maybe the third one on the left.
Yep,
Well, that's why I like
I'd be
doing the
scared
roller.
of them.
Yeah, I like doing the roller
Look
cages
at
because I want to know that I
that.
had a queen came out.
Yeah, but like you say, Mark, by the time that thing's capped, she's ate all that jelly. But I found when she hatches, there's like a little dimple in that um, cup, and there might be about a size of a pencil eraser head of jelly still left in
Yeah,
it.
it's a smidget. Yeah,
Just like
but
that, about the size of a
they're not
pencil.
packed full like that. If
No,
they're packed
Right.
full like that, that larva's dead. That
Yep.
larva's not alive. You can crack it open and look. Because them are
Interesting.
pretty far along. They're capped.
they're 6 days old.
at least.
they're 9 days old.
Six days from
Well,
graft. They're
Why do you
10
say
days
that?
old.
Why do
They're
you
10
say that,
days old.
Tom?
so because some people can graft eggs, we don't know. 6 to 9. Some of those really good people that
Thing
can
of it
graft
is, the
can
thing
Well,
of
graft
it
they're
is,
4 days
eggs.
old,
Tom,
Tom, when you graft
Tom,
them. They'd hatch at 3.
that
And
if
they're,
you graft on day 1, and it will be capped on days. If you count that day as day 1, it will be capped on day 6.
That's
The
not.
first
That's
3
not.
days prior to that doesn't even matter.
There are a lot of grafters that graft eggs and not larvae. So you have to be
I
careful
don't
what
do
you
that.
say.
I don't do that, and I've never
I
heard
don't
any
either.
take on that.
But I know if you go to those commercial beekeepers, some of those young women are so good they can graft eggs.
well, I
Well,
So
mean,
there's
yeah,
one
you're
thing
right.
about it: a bee ain't gonna put
I don't know
jelly in
why you
there
would want
if
to
it ain't
graft an
hatched.
egg to start with. I
I
mean,
don't know either, Mark, but I know they do.
I want a larvae that just hatched within 12 hours if I can get it.
Yeah,
I
or
can,
less.
So they hatch at 3 days, correct? So
That's
it's
three,
3
three,
days,
three and a
three and a
half
half
days.
days old. So you got a window, 12 to 24 hours. So you can say it's just about 4 days old when you graft it.
right,
So you got 12 days from the time you graft. I graft on Tuesday, they hatch on Sunday. So Tuesday, when I graft them, they're 4 days old. So you figure it up. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 6 days.
yeah,
And then another week, that's another 7 days. That's 13 days, right?
right.
So my timing would be that they were about 12 hours old when I grafted them, correct?
Right. And the first 3 feedings of larvae is always royal jelly. So you're good.
I know that when I put them in on Tuesday and I come back and pull them the next Tuesday, they're almost out of royal jelly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at here. Them cells they're mature. They're ready to be pulled and do whatever you want to do with them, but they're full of royal jelly. That's I don't I don't know about that one.
I'm like you, Mark. I've never seen them full like that because I was concerned that I didn't see them full like that when I was putting them in the incubator,
Right.
or when they
Yeah.
came out of the incubator, there was like hardly any jelly left. Because Palmer kept saying you want more food in there than what that queen can eat.
Yeah.
You
And this
know,
time of year, if you got a flow on, you might get that. But most of the time, you're just not going to be flooded to the point where they're ready to pull, that they're packed that full right there. I wouldn't
right?
think. And I'll put it this way, I throw them cells away because they're
Yeah.
so full of jelly. All you do is crack it open and you can tell it didn't form. Even
Right.
though it's drawed out nice and pretty, there's something wrong.
The larvae got detached from the top.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that, Mark, when I looked at it, I don't know, a few months ago, and I said, oh, I've seen enough. They can't even show a good grafting picture.
Yeah, I don't know what company that is. Let's see, where did everybody go? I stumbled across that somewhere, and I was trying to explain this to my mentee and some people that you're just trying to get that time frame. This is basics. So it's just trying to get that time frame. And then I came across that. And I thought, wow, that's a great example. And they're newbies, so they don't have to know all the scenarios. We tore it up. Well, what about this? What about that? But for them, they just need this foundation. Just the basics. Get them started, and then you can throw in all of that other, you know well, maybe this, maybe that, but just get them the foundation started on the how many days is what, when, and where, and then throw them curveballs as they go. So what's this here, DC? Mark, did you see this?
No, what happens is
The drowned. Won't they drown?
if you pull a cell that's 9 or 10, 9 to 11, 9 to 13 days old, and you're a little too rough with them, you can discharge the larvae from the top of the cell, where they fall down to the bottom of the cell, and then they can't eat. They starve to death.
Or drowned? When do they drown?
If you flip them when grafting, the orifice, it seals the orifice, and they can't breathe.
Right.
It covers their spiracles, doesn't it? You should be able to see those little lines on the side of it. You don't see those.
I'm thinking dolphins, ain't it?
The blowhole.
Yeah. You guys have better eyes than I do.
Dolphin days.
I was amazed.
So I went and did some little errands. You guys got all that sorted out there? Tom, they didn't beat you up too much. See if Tom, you got a black eye there?
No.
I just know I've grafted a lot, and when they're full of royal jelly like that, it's a warning sign.
I was surprised when I was grafting that I could see the spiracles. It seemed like better than I could see the larva. It's almost like I saw the little segments in the jelly, when they're really small. It's like the way the light's hitting it or something. That was surprising. I didn't think there's no way I'd see those spiracles on the side of the larva.
I'm not young, Philip. I'm lucky to see them.
Well, I've got a little halo light.
Hold on, that was mine. Yeah, I have to show you.
LED.
I've got like a jeweler's mask that I use.
Yeah, and I just when I graft, I go up to that magnifying glass and look at the larva and make sure it's the right age, and then I go down in the cup. Yeah. Graft, look at it, go down in the cup. Graft, look at it, go down in the cup.
I do have a magnifying glass on my light.
And then when I'm done with the bar, I pick the bar up and I run every one of them across that magnifying glass. Make sure that they're all there and they're all the right size, and then I cover them up with a rag. Set them aside.
All right.
You check and double check.
I just got to figure out how to keep the darn queens out of my builder.
I use excluders at the door.
Do you?
Yeah.
To make sure they don't fly in there, huh? That's a good idea.
You're having queens fly in?
I kill a lot of drones that way. It happens, if there's drones.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay.
Every now and then you have to
I haven't been doing it very long, but I never had any problem with that.
I was thinking I would put an excluder under the bottom, so
that
they had to go through an excluder.
I was running a deep with an excluder, and then doing my grafted, cells up above that.
Yeah.
So a queen one. Yeah, and I never had any problem with any queens getting in there. But like I said,
I'm pretty sure I just missed a sale. I mean, I do use foundationless frames.
Yep, you got to definitely make sure you have no queen cells in there when you do that. And then when I get to about 12 days, I put the rollers on there to capture the virgins.
The next time I do it, though, it's going to be queen right on the bottom with a queen excluder. And then I'm going to wait about 7 days before I even start going in and looking for sales. That way there won't, even if there are sales up there, they'll be too old.
Now, at some point, you need to go down to the bottom and make sure they're not creating cells. Because if they do create a queen cell down there, that virgin's going to get through the excluder.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Oh, we talk about DC, or we talk about DC's comment.
At that point, I'll have a cloak board or something.
Always count your cups too, especially if you're going to come back and do another graft. Always count your cups when you pull them out of there. If you put 20 cups, you pull 20 cups, because if one drop down in there and they make a queen out of it, guess what?
Right.
You got a virgin.
Surprise. Yeah.
Yep.
So we put like 20 or 15, one of the two. And if we do 15, we do 15 on all of them. If I do a double bar, then I know what I've got, and I count them
Right.
every time. Because they do fall.
Huh.
Yeah, that's a good
So if
point,
you were
Mark.
to buy, so we up north here, we buy cells in the cups, you know. So if I were to buy a cell in a cup and I saw a bunch of royal jelly in that cup, I would give it back, right?
I'd rather
Yes.
have one that has very little royal jelly. I
Yeah.
take that as a warning sign. Crack it open.
Yeah.
Crack it open and look. You're not going to hurt it. Just gently crack it open and look. If it's still alive in there, just put it back
Close it
together.
back up.
Just
It won't hurt it.
tap
Yeah,
it, just tap it back closed. Yeah.
I've seen some of
So
these
I have seen
guys on
in
YouTube.
the
Go ahead, Nancy.
in the colony when I'm doing an inspection, I'll see her coming along and cutting the bottom of the cell, cutting a manhole cover. I see her cutting it open, and I see them coming right behind and closing it back up. Or you can see that they've closed it up by, it looks like a little spider web, like a tan spider web, because they go and they keep her in there until they're ready. Now this isn't the queen breeding people, but it's when they're letting one out, see if she comes back. That second one, they'll keep them in those cells for I don't know how long, but you can tell they seal them back up.
Yeah, the issue about the royal jelly, that's where I was going to talk, is I've
Go
seen a
ahead.
lot of these guys on YouTube that are bragging about how much royal jelly's up there and how much they filled. So I don't know if that much jelly's bad. I know when I was grafting, it was pretty empty. But I'm a small backyard guy. I'm not a big grafter. I only get a handful of queens when I do it. But usually they're pretty empty when they hatch out.
Yeah. There's not much left in them.
No,
So
but I think some guys
that's-
are out there trying to brag how much royal jelly they packed in there and look how much is left. And
a JBBZ cup should be about empty.
yeah, that's what I use.
I want to see a jelly after 3 days after I graft. I'm going to check them and see how many took. And that's when I want to see a lot of royal jelly. But then when I pull them, I don't want to see a lot of royal jelly left.
Right.
Yep. Well, while you're talking about queens, getting them mated, do you guys ever fool around with those little mini nukes? You put a cup of bees in there, and
Yeah.
you ever get the bees to
You can have them.
Yeah, exactly. You ever get the bees to stay in there?
Yeah.
I made a
They're
couple
too,
myself.
they're too small.
I tried it a couple times. I had maybe 20% success with them. A couple times it would work. But the majority of the time, you put that cup of bees in there, and then you go back later, and it's empty. Either that, or they all drowned in the feeder or something.
They're empty, or they're underneath it. Sometimes if there's room underneath it.
Yeah, I went back to just putting them in a 5-frame nuke and letting them go out and mate, and then starting another nuke that way.
Right.
Here, whenever it's time to split, you can't get splits done fast enough. So if you was just doing little mate nukes like that, it'd take you forever to knock them back, So I just start pulling frames.
Yeah, it was something I tried. It's like I said, you see everything on YouTube, and you get these big breeders using those little styrofoam things, but I'm not sure how they make that work.
Yeah.
Well, they shaking a bunch of bees into a cage and then dumping them into them little mate nukes, doing thousands of them at a time.
Yeah. And they also keep them
in a separate yard
for a couple of days, and usually inside of a cooler space.
My opinion, I don't want them queens. They just, because they pull them just as soon as they lay an egg.
Yep, they have to, or they're going to swarm out on them.
Yeah, they can't keep them in there long enough. Really, I want them to lay a little while before I keep them.
Yep.
I like boxes that are about.
I at least want them to have cap brood in there.
I do boxes that have 2 frames, but they're half frames. So they got four half frames, and those work pretty good.
Mhm.
It gives the queen 2 frames to lay on. Well, 4 frames, but 2 frames to lay on. I got a few of those I made up.
So I don't know if any of you saw my last video, but I'm really down on my bees. I'm down to 3 hives, 1 hive, very strong. It's going to start setting up to, start building the probably the cells the next week or so. Second hive, one, it's 2 deeps, but 1 deep full of stuff. The next deep was empty, and then the other hive, I don't know what the heck's going on with that thing. It's a mess. So, some people would probably cringe, but I got 5 queens on the way next week, and I'm going to do 5 splits out of that. And what I'm going to end up doing is putting a couple frames of brood in the bottom box, taking all the rest of the brood from my splits. So I'm going to go single deep, put a queen excluder on there. And actually, I have some frames of honey that I kept from last year, or the hives from last year. So I'm just going to start them with there. I'm going to checkerboard those honey frames with some foundationless comb. I've done this in the past where I just have a frame with a small starter strip, and it makes great cut comb. But I'm going to knock those things down, pretty much eliminate any urges for swarming, and end up with 5 nukes on top of that. And so I try to tell people this is one way of keeping the swarm urge really knocked down. And you'll be surprised how it still produces honey. And the reason it does is you still have all the foraging bees.
Right.
And your queen is in the mode of laying like crazy right now. So your brood will rebound very fastly after that. And it's worked pretty well for me. I go down to single brood management. The other thing is, when you want to go look for a queen, it's so much easier in a single box. I've gone and helped other people with 2 brood boxes, and I just look at it and go, "This is going to be fun."
Right. Yeah, when you got single brood management, there's about 3 frames you got to pull out, and that's most of the time you find her.
You find them with the eggs.
Yeah.
As soon as I find eggs, I know she's within a frame.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when you go to help a newbie, they're going, "I was just in here yesterday," and I'm going, "Oh no," because now they ran her off. They ran her off somewhere.
Right.
Who knows where she's going to be. Yeah, I would rather that you called me over and you haven't touched this box in a week.
Yeah, it took me forever for 5 frames here lately.
Yeah. Well,
I did find her, but
if you
she
do have
wasn't
a lot of
she
bees on
wasn't
there,
a
it's
big
hard.
queen. She was a small queen. She was almost
Oh.
close to the size of a worker bee almost.
Yeah, they'll blend right in then.
Oh, hi, Rick. I didn't see Rick come on. Welcome,
Yeah,
Rick.
Rick.
Larmore. I don't know who else is new I might have missed.
Yeah, more.
I mean, you were saying something about getting mated queens in. I got mated queens in. I'm always getting some in.
From where?
Down there in South Carolina.
Oh,
there.
right.
They got carnies and stuff, and I mean, they're all decent. Get a little bit of fresh genetics in.
Yeah, I need to do that this year. I keep saying it, and I just want to go over and get some from Ed. Some my buddy does VHS, VSH. I was gonna say it wrong the first time, but yeah, I really need to bring in. I brought a little bit in. There's a guy non-treater out of Bucks County, Hiroshi. I got a couple of his second generations last year, but I haven't really done a lot of cleaning up my well, that's why I had that die off this year. I let some of them go because I really needed to just freshen things up. Let some of that older that ones didn't want to store honey, didn't want to ration out the feed through the winter, or just were kind of on the smaller side. I just needed to clean out some of that genetics and get some fresh in. So I really really want to do that this year.
That's like I got into a nuke out there this evening and I gave them foundation and they're pulling it out really nice. But they were all up in my face trying to sting me. And I'm like, all right, this I'm right under mean hive. As soon as I graft some new queens in, she's done. And she's not all that great looking either. And I went ahead and put another box of foundation on. They were pulling it out, putting a little bit of nectar in there. I'm like, if you're that industrious, that's great.
She's mean and she ain't even cute.
Yeah, she ain't even good looking.
And Kurt, I run fixed amount of hives, so a lot of times when I see the hive's getting too big and they're getting ready to swarm, I'll take the queen and an open brood frame with open brood, not any cap brood on it. Move her into a nuke and put a frame of food with her, and then I'll wait 12 days. I know all that brood has emerged out that was capped or got capped. I hit them with oxalic acid vapor, and then I put the queen back in. I make sure I kill all the queen cells that they try to make, if they have any, because I took the open brood. And then I hit them with oxalic acid vapor, and then I put the queen right back in them.
Yep.
They think they got a new queen.
Yeah. Yep. I have had queens that look like they were just dying, and I want to say I didn't have the heart, but like you said, I put them in another hive, gave it food, and it was like a brand new queen all of a sudden.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Sometimes they failed and they're done.
I pinched 3 queens on Monday. 2 of them weren't doing very good, and one of them was actually not mated. I missed it earlier in the year when I checked it, and she was just running around in the hive. So I pinched her.
Yeah, one year I thought I had a hive that was queenless, so I went out and got a queen, put it in there, and never found the queen. Never found the queen.
Yeah,
I think I went and got another one, and this one is accepted. And then one day I was doing an inspection, and I find this marked queen from the prior year. I'm going, what the heck is this? And then I find my new queen in there, and I'm going, I have 2 queens in this hive now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot in fall here, and I think even spring. The queen that overwinters 2 queens, and then the daughter will kill the mother off in spring.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. I think that's what I'm seeing here. Although the books will tell you that's not true. But I'm opening my hives and I have mated, unmarked, unclipped, mated queens that were not there in the fall.
Yeah,
They were not.
I've heard others say that you can get 2 queens in a hive and they'll coexist.
I had that.
It's probably rare, but
before the flow, I don't think once a flow starts, they'll both tolerate. I think it's before the flow, right?
I had a nuke. It had a mother and a daughter in there.
For how long?
I shook the daughter. I had a queen. I had a hive, another nuke right beside it. It was queenless. I shook the daughter off over, kind of let her walk off on the frame over into that other nuke. And she took, she went out and got mated. 2 weeks later, she's banging it up good. Now, for queen bee, what I'm talking about is this queen here kind of looked like the size of a worker bee, and versus a big old mama queen that's got a big ass butt on her. That's the kind I'm looking for.
A carrot.
Fat bottom girl.
Huh?
Fat bottom girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the ones I usually have, these carnies, they're dark queens, kind of a darkish brown with stripes. You know, she's black. She's hard to find. She blends in with the darn black comb. And, I don't have a mark yet. Now, the ones when I graft this year, I'm gonna go ahead and let my queens hatch in the incubator, and then while they're by themselves and they're kind of slow, I'll just take them and I'll go ahead and dot them, and then I'll put them in my. And you're talking about mating boxes. I made my own boxes. They're 2-frame mating boxes, and years ago, and that way, instead of having to have special this and special that, I can put a regular medium frame, medium frames in a medium frame box, or I have a few deep frames. But those, I'm like I say, calling out all my deep stuff.
Y'all, I gotta sign out. I gotta get busy moving bees, and it's starting to get
Yep.
dark.
I need to get
Yeah.
out of here and
All
get
right,
ready for
Mark.
my other meeting too, Nancy.
Where are you going to
All
move them
right.
to, Dark? Within this in the apiary?
See y'all
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, I'm just
All
gonna
right.
move some
See ya.
stuff around,
Bye.
Charlie. Yep.
I
See
was
you,
trying
Mark
to
and
find
Phil.
my
We'll talk to y'all
picture here.
later.
Bye, Mark. Thanks for
Bye,
coming.
y'all.
Thank you. Same to you, Philip. Thanks for coming. I don't know if he all heard me or not.
He
So
probably-
I have pictures last fall, October. I had pulled out a frame to put an observation hive and take to a talk. And it had a queen cell in October. So I thought, okay. So here it emerged. And so I dotted her blue at a pink queen and a blue queen. And they were in there for a while. And then I think I lost the hive in January. And the pink queen was gone, but the blue queen perished with the hive. And I'm looking for those pictures, but it doesn't seem like it's allowing me to find them when I'm on
Maybe they were
StreamYard.
probably transgender, right?
What?
I said, was that a transgender hive?
Well, no, it was pink. Well, it was a pink queen. It was pink and blue. The one queen was so the reason she was pink was because my red marker didn't work. So as close to red was pink. And then the new queen, which would have been 2025, was blue because that's this year. So that's my logic.
Yeah, I'll just explain it.
Yeah, I know you're just
He was
playing.
just being
But I
funny Charlie. He's got some
So-
magic dust on his popcorn.
I ain't got no popcorn. I got some pretzels and.
Oh, pretzels.
did we answer this guy? Did we answer?
Yeah, we
Queasy
answered him.
here. You did? All right.
I like a big black queen with a great big booty.
Right. So then DC
I mean,
asked me
especially if they're
something
about
back.
that long. That's even better yet.
Yeah. Queen I grafted from this year, she was a monster queen. So the cells were big too. So I said, well, that's a good sign.
Yep.
They'll
But
be emerging out
Guys,
Sunday night to Monday morning. Those queens.
we want our queens. This is funny. Wide load signs.
Yeah. Yeah. Several wide.
DC had asked me something back here about genetics, or I don't know what he said here. Oh, how are you been grading? Well, so I don't have anything in, but my grading system is I need to work them without a suit. I need to work them in a skirt and I need them to store food. I need them to be greedy with food because I'm about wore out on feeding. So those are my two top priorities this year. Is they got to be nice because I have a lot of people in my yard. I sell bees. I need my bees to be nice. Now, they're nice to me. I want them to defend their hive still. I want them to, not allow robbers in. But I have a trick to robbing, and I did it last year, and I'm going to see about this year again. I let the grass grow real high in front of the entrance, which you hear the first thing new beekeepers are asking about how to mow in front of their hives. Don't let that grass grow real high. Those bees that live there are going to know exactly how to navigate in and out of that. But I have a section of my yard where the grass grew real high in front of the entrance, and I didn't have any yarding, any robbing in that section of my yard. So just throwing it out there for science, the citizen science. If somebody wants to go along and let some of them grow up and see what they see as far as robbing later on in the season.
Nancy, if you ever see one of my spots where I keep my bees, I basically, if you could picture 3 stands, and they're 4x4s making a U
Mm-hmm.
shape, and
Yep.
all of the hives are side by side, and they're all facing the center.
Yep.
So you can
You don't
take
mow.
care. You can take care of your bee. I don't do anything in the center. You can
Yep.
take care of the bees all around the outside. I'm not brave enough to go without a veil, but you probably could. The bees are doing all their activities in the front of the hives. They're doing it in
Yeah.
the center. And I'll be honest with you, if they're drifting from hive to hive, I would never know. There's thousands of bees in there.
It doesn't matter.
No,
It
I don't
really
think of
doesn't
that. That's why I
matter.
say good enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been working pretty good. I get pretty good results out of them. And then I go over to help someone out, and they have all their bees facing out, and they work their bees from the center. I'm like,
Oh,
how do you cut your grass around your beehives?
yeah.
And they're like, well, I wear my veil and all that. I'm like, if you face them all in, you don't even have to suit up for cutting grass.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I don't cut the fronts. I'm gonna leave all the fronts go. And then I put leaves. I get leaves from all my neighbors in the bags in fall, and I put all the leaves around the side and the back that I work that particular hive, because I've had them there now a couple years. So I've just put grass or leaves and whatnot where I work them. And then but yeah, or even I'm gonna plant some flowers in front of the entrances too, just to see if that helps. Now, and robbing, you can't, you can't be cutting off, you can't be cutting off drone comb and letting it sit, or messing with the honey, and dripping and drobbling all over the place too, and then wonder why you got robbing going on. So those are some things, those some of those management skills that you want to make sure you're cleaning up after yourself too. So all right, what else? What else do we want to? Oh, I know. So I wanted to show this to here. Hold on, let me get it. Uh, Let me think. What was it? Here it is. Uh, What was that, Charlie? The other day, the
What's that?
apiarist.org. I can't find it now.
What is it?
The apiarist, the guy from somewhere across the pond. He does an article. The
Oh,
apiarist.
you're talking about what you
Yeah.
sent me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look
It's
it
not
up.
letting me. How do I spell it? Uh,
The THEAPIRIST
Here he is.
.org.
I got it. I got it. All
Something Bill
right.
put out.
Okay, here you go. Share screen. Okay. So this is the guy, Charlie. Charlie and I met through a club up here in Pennsylvania, and we had a president from that club, and he used to really talk about this guy. He got a lot of information. So I've been hearing about this guy for a long time, and I just never really looked into him. Very, very easy to read, humorous. He's got some good articles and 15-minute read, 3-minute read, he's a heck of a writer.
Is this the one where Bill talked about the Queen thing?
Yeah. Yep. But just wanted to share that. Let's see if we can find that Queen. I don't know if this is. I don't think this is it. It's February 11th that he. So it came up. I talked about how far Queen's flying and drones flying, and we had that kind of conversation. And an article came up, and I got to read it a couple times. I'm not finding it here now, but that wasn't that article that I wanted to bring up. I just wanted to bring up this website to share with the group. It's really interesting. I think he's a good beekeeper, a smart beekeeper, and the read is real good. It's a real easy read.
Yeah, I watched the video up there from our past club, and Howard was up there trying to talk about a demery. And I'm like, if I had been there, I would have stood up and said, "All right, I've had enough. I'm coming up there to tell you how that's supposed to be done."
Well, Charlie, you don't do a demeray. You do a rolling demeray.
That is a demerit.
Either way, what I'm talking about is this guy. He was talking about letting the queen hatch up in the top of the box and setting your damn boxes back so the drones can get out and so the honeybees can get in. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow. He's not even close.
Well, and this guy's been at it for 100 years. It seems like he always talks about, or at least his family has. And I mean,
50
he ain't
years.
got a, huh?
55. He started in 1966.
All
so
right,
that's 59
and
years.
he still doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And George didn't know
Yeah.
either, because I don't think he likes it anyway. Even though he's got a keeper's hive that can be a demery. I seen latest video. And what else was it? Then you had the guy that does the electronics come in there, and he's talking about going in and pulling off honey supers. And this was harvested on July such and such, and this is harvested on June such and such. And I'm thinking to myself, your honey's capped. My honey doesn't cap until about the end of the season. So are you selling wet honey? And it's like, okay, it's like, and these new beekeepers were totally confused. Totally. He didn't explain, George Demery invented this in 1892 and did this and did this and did that.
Yeah.
It's just like you go there and you listen to the guy over in England, Black Mountain Honey, all put foundation in the bottom and put the queen with 3 frames of her original brood stuff. Well, read the article that was written in 1892, and that's not what George Demery said. George Demery said to put capped or drawn comb. But if you don't have any drawn comb, put in foundation or starter strips. And he was trying, back in his day, honey was all about combed honey because it's how everybody ate it. You know, they didn't do runny honey back then. I don't think they even had extractors back then.
Right.
I forget when the extractor was invented. That was, you know, a big thing, you know, because you didn't have to crush and strain and stuff like that. But
so crimson, so Tiny's crimson is up before his poplars bloomed. That's kind of like my crimson is at the end when I'm gonna seed I seed crimson little big patches, but that's usually by the time my crimson is up, my trees are pretty much done here.
crimson clover, I don't have too much of that around me.
No, I seed it. I don't have it naturally. I seed it. It's
Oh,
real pretty on a hill.
that's Andrew, and he's down in South Carolina.
Oh, right. Okay. So he's gonna have.
But he's
Yeah,
ahead of us.
yeah.
He's ahead of us by a month at least.
Right. And if he got some decent rain, that crimson will bloom before his poplar is what he's saying. But I wouldn't be able to have that up here.
It's more of if anybody plants it, it's more of a cover crop. That's about it. But anyway, Howard was on there running, you know, talking about how, you know, he had it sort of right, but
yeah,
he and then he went off, you know, he had the basic concept for the normal demery, but then he went off the deep end and about setting the darn boxes back. I did all that stuff. And you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, having, you know, they talk about you got to get more honey if you got an upper entrance, or you set your boxes back so they can go in there and they don't have to go through the front door and all that, and a bunch of bugs.
I've done all that too, Charlie. Over
That's
the
all
years, I've done all of that.
too.
Just stack
And
them,
then
stack them up and go on. That was like last year. I did so many highs where I under supered and so many highs where I just over supered. And I wrote and I read the article in the ABJ about it really didn't matter. It's what they said in the article.
Right.
And the fact of the matter of it is, and I also seen a diagram, I'll say, of a tree. Where does the honey at in the tree? Upstairs. Where's the brood at? Down in the bottom of the hole, inside the cavity. And I've got, this is what I got. I got setups out here right now. I'm trying to call out my deep frame boxes and just go all medium like I normally do. I've got 2 medium boxes, queen excluder, a deep that I'm calling out because it's got brood in it. And I've got a honey super on top of that. Well, they're putting honey upstairs into that. I went out there and pulled one of them where I just raised it up to kind of feel the weight in it. And it's got probably about, I don't know, 5-6 frames of honey in it. And it's a proven fact. They will go all the way to the top of the hive and work down, and all that, and all that kind of stuff.
Charlie, Tiny Creek here is pounding at this question again. So, say what you want to say about it.
All right, I asked a question last night about extracting honey from frames that have been pulled up from the brood box, like the Demery method. Is it allowed to be extracted and sold? So what you're saying is that they had stored honey down in the brood box. Yeah, you can extract it as long as it ain't sugar water honey from the winter.
Yeah.
Is he suggesting that there was brood in that frame and then they put honey in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't make any difference.
I have no problem with that. I know some people.
No,
do.
you know, if you got a situation where, let's say I've had this and everybody's had this, somehow the queen got up into the honey super above the brood chamber, and she laid up a couple frames of brood up there. and then you found her and you put her back down in down where she's supposed to be, because somehow she got up there with a manipulation or something. You let that brood hatch out and let them, and they'll backfill it with honey.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
then,
I
and then
leave.
harvest it.
Yeah, I leave honey supers over winter on top of my hive.
Mm-hmm.
And springtime, the queen's going to be up there laying brood. And all I do is I put her down below the excluder and let it hatch out, and they backfill it with honey.
Right. Some people use
All right,
drone
so there it
trains
is. There's what he said.
as
There's
scoopers.
in there when he pulled it up. Yeah, just let it hatch out, and then they'll backfill it with honey, more honey, and then when it's capped, extract it. It's fine. I got some honey supers there that's got like a light brown tinge to it. Not really brown, but like, kind of an off yellow look to it instead of pearly white. And that's where some brood got in there.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
have a little patch in the center that's dark sometimes. Not a problem.
Yeah,
And if it bothers
So-
you, cycle it out eventually.
Yeah. So I don't. There's no honey cops
Don't
where I
listen to
live.
'em.
There's no honey cops. So I think what the person was trying to say, and I've said this a couple times now, is that you don't want to do it on purpose. You don't want to purposely mix brood and honey. Now, me and Tom, we put queen excluders on, and we don't mix the frames. We have brood frames and we have honey frames, and we keep them separate. Not everybody does that.
Right.
It's kind
It's
of
a
a
personal
personal
preference.
Tiny Creek. It's a kind of a personal preference. Again, you're going to get a lighter, clear crystal clear honey that is a higher premium. You can get better money for it if you don't have brood comb in there. But if you're just going for an amber, regular run of the mill honey, doesn't matter.
well, all them boys up there in Canada and those commercial guys, what do they run? They run all deeps. And I guarantee you they're cycling and they're running
Yep.
brood frames as honey frames. It don't matter because it all interchanges. Now with me,
Yeah, and Tiny
I'm
Creek,
doing the
there's
same
no honey
idea.
cops.
Right.
There's
I'm
no
doing
honey
They all do
cops
that,
out there. Don't worry
Shirley.
about it.
I'm doing it with all medium frames. And everybody said, well, why medium? So I said, it's one size box, one size frame. Now,
Right.
I do separate my honey frames away from my brood frames.
Right.
Like I got that,
Storage.
like that group I was telling you about. I don't have a queen excluder on there. If they happen to go up there, and I've had them done this, but without me putting in a queen excluder, they went and packed it full of honey, 5 frame
Mhm.
new. And there's no brood in there. I'm going to harvest that, even though it was in the brood chamber, but it was
Yeah.
packed full of honey. And then,
Yeah.
and then right now I need brood frames because they pack a snot out of pollen in my damn frames. You'll have you can have 1 or 2 pollen frames in a hive, but not 5 or 6 in one box. It doesn't
think-
do you good.
I think what Tiny Creek might be mentioning, what he heard, is if I have my brood 6 or 7 brood frames in the center, and I got honey frames on the outside, I will not take those. I'll leave those for the winter time. Where some people will pull all the honey, they'll pull the supers and they'll pull the outside frames of the brood chamber.
So here, I'll
That's-
give you one other scenario, and this I think we'll all agree on. If your brood chamber was treated with Apigard,
Right.
Apivar,
Right.
or any of those
Yeah,
what do I want to call those?
non-organic.
Organic, thank you.
Man-made.
Yeah, and
Right.
the only 2 organic ones I know about are formic and oxalic. I think
Apigard.
Hopguard is
Apigard.
supposed to be,
Hot
but
guard.
I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you, that stuff was useless when I tried it. So I'll
No,
never
don't
go
even
back to
mention
that.
it. Don't
Yeah.
even mention it because it's off the market. No
Oh,
one
is
should
it?
have it. Don't
Good.
pull it off a shelf and use it.
I used it
Yep.
once and I'll never.
is-
it was
What is it,
horrible.
Nancy?
Hopguard.
Hop guard.
Oh,
Hot guard.
Hopguard.
It was supposed to be an
That-
organic
that's-
treatment, and it was garbage.
garbage.
a
You got it.
matter of fact, the strip. I'm sorry, I'm diverging here, but the area where I put that strip on the frame, the bees would never touch it again, and I'm talking years. so, so
Yeah.
there's something wrong with that stuff.
I
Now,
just like this new Viroxon. I've seen them on these other guys who've already started using it. It's just as bad as Aprivar. They'll cut the damn comb out around it and all that, and they never build back
yeah.
if you take
So
that away.
if Tiny Creek is, if someone's telling them that if you treated your hive with any of those treatments, that you can't use those for honey, yeah, that's
Right.
exactly what I would
Yeah.
think is maybe what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But moving a
That
brood
might be
frame,
another thing they might be talking
That
about.
was a good call enough because there might be some we never asked on these last couple days that it's been coming up about. We never asked what kind of mite treatment you use. So the conversation about not selling that honey might be because of the mite treatments being used, and we're not aware of that.
yeah,
Right.
So
Right.
that's another reason why you want to keep my honey supers have white foundation. My brood has black foundation. So at a glance, I can see what's what. And when I'm treating, I mean, I only use organic anyway, but I'm treating in the brood chamber down there. So I know my honey's off, or it's okay to have it on, but that could be a situation. That was a good call, good enough. Good call.
Well, like myself, yeah, you can use Formic. Yeah, you can use Oxalate with your honey supers on, but you know what? I don't.
no,
When them honey supers are on there, that's food for me or whatever, and I
Mhm.
ain't contaminating that food. I
no,
don't care what they
I,
all say.
I've been believing that, and actually it bit me in the butt last year. So what happened was, is I had honey supers that wouldn't cap. I mean, it just went on forever, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to treat because I had honey supers on, and I didn't treat until October, and that bit me in the butt big time.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of hives because the mites had already done their damage, and
Kurt,
I was, but
there are some queens genetics that they don't cap honey.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
did
I'm serious.
you test your
I've been
honey?
I've been running Formic. I mean, yeah, I've been running Carnioleans from
Mm.
day one. Well, I said at day one. My first year or two, I had some Italians in there, and I went away from those. I started mixing in Carnioleans. I used to joke about the Italians were always robbing from the Carnioleans. I'm not really sure who was robbing from who, but the two bees didn't like each other. So I'm 100% Carniolean now. Um, they they have been running a little late for capping. I'm not one of those that likes to evaporate the honey out. I like the bees to do that. That's a personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
But the other
Right.
side of it is my customers say your honey's different. I don't know, they're comparing to the stores too, but
Yeah.
they like the honey. So I'm trying to give the customers what they're used to tasting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about, man, you got the best honey tasting, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not a honey connoisseur. I don't really like honey, and
No, yeah.
and even my own relatives said the same thing. As I'm like, well, all I can tell you is it's locust honey and poplar honey, and it's real honey.
I'll be
Yeah. It's
honest
real
with
honey.
you. I'm in a residential neighborhood. There's houses all around me. We do have wooded areas, so I'm not in the city, but I'm not in the country. But the variety of what these bees have to forage is amazing. And I don't really hit a dearth unless we have drought, and I think that happened a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've been fighting with this for the last couple of years of trying to deal with this uncapped
The main thing
frames.
that I do
So
is I go before I or pull
That's in your
anything. I
queen.
test it. I get
Yeah.
my
No,
refractometer out,
it was
and
testing. It was yeah. I do the same thing, and it's testing 19-20%.
nah, that's too
It's
much.
yeah, exactly. And the prior year I did take some of that at 19%, and guess what? It fermented. So that
do
was
you have a freezer? Can you run it through a freezer?
um I'm going back to where I said before, I want the bees to dry it down. So
Oh.
what I did one year, and here's a controversial subject, is
Hmm.
all the uncapped honey, I took it off the hives, I put it over to the side and let them rob it out. The way I looked at it is they just provided themselves with a quick buildup of food, and now I had a whole bunch of dry honey supers. And then typically after I did that, I have all my supers off, then I would hit them with formic. So if they were intermingling with other bees that had mites and things like that, and they came back with them, they're all getting formic. And then what I'll do is I'll hit them with oxalic again in December or January. And I tell everybody, I said, we will hit 50 or 60 degrees every year, at least once in December, once in January. And those are the days you got to pay attention to and go hit them with oxalic.
Oh, I hit mine at, I found, I don't like them flying because they'll fly around here at 50. So I find 45 degrees is perfect. 48, I used to say 48, but that's when they were just about ready to fly some, and I'd have to fight keeping them in.
Yeah,
45, I like that. I don't really like to do anything under that, but as far as your honey goes, around here, we got a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so hot and humid, you can't get it to dry down naturally, even though it's capped. And I'll take some testing under the cappings and it'll be high humidity.
Wow.
So I make up a hillbilly dryer where I take a table, 8-foot folding table, and I drape it over with plastic sheeting from like Home Depot. At one end, there's a fan, and at the other end is a dehumidifier.
Yep, a lot of people do that around here.
Set them up on the edge like that and blow that air through there, and sort of. And I put boards down on the. It's in the basement. I got a video on it.
Yep.
And put it down on the basement and make sort of like an encapsulated room, and you get about, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 supers in there, and let it about 3 or 4 days, and it'll be down around 17%. You got to watch yourself. It'll get a little bit too dry, and it's a pain in the butt. And I don't like doing it because it's extra work. I'd much rather let the bees do it, but sometimes you got to, because of the environment.
Yeah, and that's why I've conceded that, I get whatever I get for the honey. I feed back the wet frames, the uncapped, back to the bees.
Oh, I do too. I do. Yeah,
and they have a field day on that.
I put them out there at the house here. They're, I don't know, 50 yards away.
Well, I laugh. People talk about taking them 100 yards away or whatever. If you ever look at my little apiary of, 10 hives when I was doing this, I literally put them about 10 feet away.
Really? Yeah. Mine's a little bit farther than that.
Nope.
I'll put them at least 50 feet away.
Yeah.
Or put them on
the
other side of the house and don't disturb anybody. So they fly over the house, go over there, eat, and go back like, oh, we found something, and it doesn't like robbing.
So one year I did open feeding on the side of my house, and not really realizing how visible that was to the street. And we get a lot of people that walk the sidewalks in our neighborhood.
Oh my word!
Oh my God! And my wife says to me, she said, "Never again do that." People were like, "What the heck is going on in your backyard?"
Yeah, I know. You see it. I take mine down. I run mine through the freezer. I have two 21-foot square feet freezers that holds about 5. Each one holds about 5 mediums. So I run them through the freezer, dry them out a little bit more. But when I'm at the end and I want to clean them out, I'll take about 20 or 30 supers down back, which is, I don't know, maybe 100 feet from my hives, and just let them have at it. And boy, that's a sight. That's a sight to see there.
Oh, it is. So here's a funny story about freezers is this elderly lady that I was helping out. I'd go over there and every time she got a frame of capped honey, she would put it in a freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And, once she had enough, she would extract it. And at one point she was like, I want you to try my honey, because I've given her my honey. And she's like, wow, your honey's really good. I tasted her honey and I almost gagged on it. I was
Oh
like,
no.
what the heck? And she's like, I just took these out of the freezer and then extracted them. I'm like, there's got to be something dead in your freezer. I don't know, but you got to be careful about putting them in a freezer that may not be smelling real good.
Ew.
Yeah.
So you think it was from you think so? Well, there's nothing else in my freezers. Like these are freezers
This
for
lady,
just.
I don't know what she was doing, but it was the nastiest honey I've ever tasted. Now,
Ew.
only
I wonder if.
the only other thing that I'm thinking is some of the farmers around here are starting to do an overcrop of buckwheat,
No.
and
That's
maybe
like motor oil.
yeah,
That's
maybe
awful. I have people
maybe
ask me for
someone
that
near
at
her was
markets.
growing
Hey, I
buckwheat.
love buckwheat honey.
Yeah, there's always one
Oh.
in the crowd.
Yeah.
I got a niece that loves that stuff too. I said, "You got to be kidding me!
Yeah.
It's real yucky,
Yeah.
and it's like it's black as
Black, that's
pitch.
all. It's black honey.
Forget it. That's like I
Yeah.
got some honey in here I was going to sell, and I gave it a taste test, and it had this
Got a different taste, that's for sure.
had that aftertaste of it tasted like cough syrup, and I'm
Oh,
Not in
that's
a good way.
eucalyptus.
huh?
I think that's eucalyptus.
Is
I
that
think
or
that's
is it cherry?
eucalyptus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's eucalyptus. I don't know if we.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
not
would be
buckwheat.
weird. Yeah, that's
I
not
know it
buckwheat,
wasn't
but
buckwheat because it
the
wasn't black.
Yeah.
no, but the
Buckwheat.
menthol.
Buckwheat,
The
Cherry
that
was kind of
honey's
a
black.
red look to it. It had a red look to it. He had it labeled red honey. And I said, well,
Yes.
sometimes that's poplar, but usually when you hold poplar up to, I think it's poplar or locust, it's got like a green tint to it. I don't know. Anyway,
black locust.
I said, I don't want any of that. I can't.
Black locust is off-white honey. Real light, really
Yeah,
light.
I get that part of it. But what I'm saying is, I think it's when you put poplar up in the sunlight that has usually if it's in the dark area, it looks red. But if you put it in the sunlight, it has like a slight green tint to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, George had some of that. Charlie one time he had honey. It had like almost like a fluorescent green look to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's about like his shirt.
Hi, Keith. Yeah, right, but clear, not that vibrant. But
I
yeah,
hope
that.
not.
I don't know what the red. So I think the menthol one is eucalyptus. But Charlie, I don't know where
It
you would
wasn't
have
menthol. It had that. You know how you have cough syrup? It's got that.
Yeah.
That whatever taste
Yeah.
to it. And I don't know whether it was
Yeah.
a cherry tree. Bob Benny talked about it, and I tried to find that stupid video. They were working a yard, and there was a tree standing there, and had such and such a tree, and they were hearing the girls eating the honey, and it tastes like cough syrup.
That might be a cherry tree. Cherry tree's honey's not very good.
Well, I don't know what it was, but I said, you can have this back. I don't want it.
That was a couple years ago, Bob Binney, right? That was a couple years back.
Now,
3-4
this was
years?
recently, about last year. He talked about it
Oh.
tasting like they were mentioning it. There's that tree there. Hopefully, they're not going after it because it tastes like such and such.
Okay. Spillman's saying,
Yeah.
the wild cherry makes
Wild
cough
cherry makes
syrup.
Cherry makes cough syrup.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're right, Charlie. I thought it was.
It must have been
eucalyptus.
wild
I thought
cherry. And I'm like, I can't sell this stuff. Man, my people will, turn me up. I got some honey here that's a little bit on the fall honey side. It's kind of black. It's got a little bit more of a kind of a chocolate look
way.
to it or whatever. Not black, but chocolate, kind of a chocolate reddish or whatever. And just slightly darker than what I had. Well, what's this? I said, it's fall honey. I said, but it still has a smooth,
Finish.
sweet taste. At least they're putting it in their tea and everything else. But to me,
Nancy, how long are you going?
Huh?
Nancy, how long are you staying on?
Well, I don't know. Why?
I was just asking.
I guess we'll shut down at 9. I don't know. We're still. I don't know. I don't know. You're right. It is almost. Yeah, and I came on about 6:15. So I'm pushing 3. I'll be pushing 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, past your bedtime.
Really. Yeah, my eyes. You can see my eyes are probably all bloodshot. But Bob, let's see, mountain mint. Mountain mint. They used to rave about being this, that, and the other. So I put some down in the yard. My bees never touched it.
I
They never
grew
went
some
after
up
my.
on a bank up here, some mountain mint, and they jumped on it, but it was more of a fall. It was something for them for the fall. The
Oh.
That means
it
that's
wasn't
something
it
else is
wasn't a
blooming
honey
that they
crop.
like better.
It was more of a fall thing, but you got to have acres of all that stuff.
Yeah, mine died out. I think I'm down to one. I think I'm down to one plant.
I got across the road. I got sumac over there. Them great big long
Oh
pod
yeah,
things. I think aren't they in the fall?
yeah, they're fall
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
That's good to have.
They put them in the smokers. That's what they were using for put that
Nice.
flower, that bud in the smokers. But you know what makes really good honey? Poison ivy.
Really.
Poison ivy makes really good honey. If you think about it, it's a native plant that probably not many. Well, yeah, but I had huge, huge poison ivy issue here when we bought this property. I got rid of most of it where we lived, but then there's some foliage down back, old trees and whatnot, and it still grows up the trees down there and takes off and is nuts. But that's supposedly, I wish I could. I really want to learn how to taste honey. I want to do the tasting like the
Yeah.
Right.
you know what I'm trying to say, sommelier.
Yes.
Uh, but I'd love to do that. Like, queen breed and all that doesn't fancy me at all. But I
Good. I
really,
like
really
that.
want to learn about tasting honey.
Do you guys have knotweed in your area?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Icky
a big
fall.
big fall producer. So I find funny in the springtime, I was getting this really clear, light honey. I had so many people that wanted that. And then all of a sudden I had this group of people that were like, don't you have any of that really dark honey? Like you just can't win. And,
Hey, Michael. Good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I do markets and whatnot, and I usually about once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, I'll have the doofus come up. Got any buckwheat honey?
oh god.
And I'll show them the light spring honey, and I'm like, yes.
I just planted some witch hazel. I'm going to be putting a whole half acre of witch hazel in my yard.
So what's
Um,
that? Is it witch honey or hazel honey?
Witch hazel. It blooms from January to February in the
Okay.
middle of winter, and it can bloom up to 8 weeks until it gets gets bees on it.
Yeah.
So
No. Yeah.
it's really good,
Yeah.
and it's a nectar source. So I don't know how many flying days I get in December, January, and February, but it's probably 2 weeks worth every year. So that'll help me with getting a little bit of nectar back in the hive.
That mimosa there. Now, see around here, that's a ornamental tree, and
Yeah.
I've been down in the deep south where it seems to be everywhere. Now, Keith, are you pulling honey now? And is it capped?
Yes. He's
Oh,
pulled
yeah.
25 boxes. I think
And
he's
it's
pulled
capped.
25.
It's capped.
Yeah, he's in a warm climate. His spring started months ago.
I know Michael likes that dark honey in the fall, like goldenrod. Well, we don't get it. I get goldenrod, and the bees will bring it in as far as pollen, and they might get a little dab of nectar out of it, if anything, but it's nothing. I don't. A lot of people depend on asters and goldenrod for the fall honey flow, and I said, well, number one, I don't count on any fall honey flow because I normally don't get any, and I feed sugar water for, getting to the winter time. But now the only thing here lately, since we had the spotter lanternfly, usually I pull all my spring honey off, and the bugs of last year, they were hardly here. But I pulled my honey off, and there was a super honey on top. So I don't know whether or not, I think this year we're a month behind. And I'm thinking I'm going to have to wait till about the end of July of this year, because I think things are going to shift a month.
Mm.
I'm not sure. Already pulled 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Mm. You must
What
going
do
to
you
get about 2,000
here?
pounds. That's what I need.
Well,
Keep
I
the bee
started
warm.
beekeeping, Charlie, in 2018, and I've never had a fall flu.
Yeah.
It's always too dry.
Well,
Me too.
like you're talking about like knotweed and stuff like that. Now, if you go on up into Pennsylvania there along the Susquehanna River, where it's not really disturbed, they have that. We were riding a little train up there along this creek, or a little river, I guess you'd call it. And I recognized it from it's real tall, about 5-6 feet tall, and it's all along the waterways. And it was that Chinese knotweed. But you got to be in the right area for all that kind of stuff to grow. And I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
have
we have it all over the place, and it's an invasive plant. So there's some people that want to get rid of it, which you probably never will be able to. And all the beekeepers are like, no, don't get rid of it.
they all talk about that invasive this and invasive that. And I'm like, oh,
Well, it's not natural.
like the Chinese tallow. I asked the guys down and where that stuff grows. I said, does it overtake other trees? No. Well, what's it do? Well, it just came from another country 150 some years ago. They planted it. And that when they settled down there in Louisiana. And now take, what's it called? Multiflora rose. Around me, we're in horse country. And we had, back in the 30s, we had all these rich English come over here and bought farms up. And they planted all that stuff, and they extension age. Oh, the living fence is what they were telling me. It's what they were promoting, this crap.
Mm.
And it grows wider than wider. And then the birds carry the seeds off and want to plant if you don't keep up mowing your fields, that stuff will voluntarily grow up. Now they spray it. They've been, the last 30 or 40 years, it's been paraquat spraying it and bulldozing it out, and you don't see it as much anymore. That's invasive to me. It's something that really tries to take over everything.
What plant was that, Charlie?
Multiflora rose.
Okay.
It's a hedgerow. You over there in them old World War II movies, you would see where they have hedges. They don't have they don't have fences like wooden fences. They planted hedgerows, and it's got stickers on there, and you ain't going through that stuff. It's mean.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Bradford
these?
pears is
I
another.
was just going to say, Bradford pears are showing up everywhere now.
Now, see, I don't see around here a Bradford pear is a ornamental tree that's being planted. They line their driveway because they want nice, pretty white things. It doesn't keep cropping up here, there, and everywhere. I don't see it.
Well,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
What
they're
happens?
all over the place.
Well,
It's
up here, up
everywhere,
north,
Charlie. It's
Not
so
around
here.
invasive, it's horrible.
the Bradford pears don't hold the snow, so they only get so big, and then the snow takes them down.
Oh yeah, they
don't.
they're very the darn limbs break off of them dumb things like crazy.
Yeah, I think they hold the snow like a funnel, and then the snow, you'll see them after a ice storm or a lot of snow. You'll drive around, you'll see all of them with their branches down, falling off, broke off. They'll just destroy the tree. So I think they only last so many years.
They got
In Ohio, it's illegal to sell that tree, and they want you to destroy anyone that's around, but they haven't done it on their public property, so nobody does it.
Well, there's a place down here, a house they built. It was a farm originally, and they have a 200 or 300-foot driveway, and it's lined with them trees. Of course, the darn trees grow in, and you can't get a truck in there like a delivery truck. And like like you say, we get a good snow here. Here's a branch about that big, and it's all ripped off, and half the trees, they half the time cut them
And,
down.
and it smells when it blooms. Stinkiest tree.
Oh, I don't know about that.
So,
And the
like
thing
you
of it is,
said,
the bees don't like them.
no,
Bees don't like it.
ornamental. And as we were driving down the highway the other day, I noticed like you'd see a hotel, they'd be lying down the sides of the road. And then all of a sudden, because they're all flowering here right now, and
Yeah.
all of these random places all over the place, these flowering trees are popping up. And I heard about, my daughter's in Ohio, and she was like, "Yeah, you can't have those in Ohio anymore." And
Yeah.
and I'm watching here because they were a big thing a few years ago. Everybody was planting them, and now they're just planting themselves. They've
Yeah, well,
gone
they
crazy.
don't plant themselves around here. Of course,
Yeah,
I'm like you. I don't live in the city, and I don't really live in the super country. I live in the suburbs anymore,
Yep.
and I'm surrounded with houses, even though we farm.
hmm
And
So the ones
not too bad, but bad enough.
with the thorns, those are the native cherry and native pear where I live up here in the Northeast. They have the big thorns on them.
I've seen.
Those are a native tree here.
That's not the Bradford pear.
No, right.
A honey locust has big long thorns on them.
No, mine gets like a pit. So the ones with the big thorns, they get like little pits, like they're trying to be cherries. You'll see them clustered like a group of cherries, but all it is the pit. There's no fruit.
Is that crab
There's
apple?
no meat on it.
Crab apple tree?
No, they're native. They grow. People let them grow. Like I let them grow up here, and they're real pretty white right now. But they're like a native.
Sarah says it's a thorn apple tree.
No, mine's a native cherry. It's a native cherry up here. Thorn apple. Maybe that's a slang. Maybe that's an old slang for it because it's got thorns and it has a little pit. But
Yeah. Might not be native.
oh, well, let's look here. I know we're pushing the time here. So my dog Louie just went up to his crate and he's waiting. Like, why am I up here by myself? Okay, so let's do Bradford pear tree. All right. So let's go back to here. Share screen. Here. All right. What do we see there? We
Hawthorn
see
tree.
What's that? That's a caliper pear.
so I don't know, did I type it wrong up here?
I guess.
So this is what popped up. Honey, I'm still on. Bradford pears are just like many parts.
Yeah, that's a thorn apple. Thorn apple is what you're talking about. Or a thornberry tree.
All right, so
Yeah,
that's a
see,
Bradford
Bandon,
pear.
Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina.
So let's go to native. Let's type in native cherry.
Wild cherry is. Yeah, black cherry. There you go. Native species in North America. Yeah, I call them wild cherries. Now my black cherry blooming right now.
You talking about a wild cherry or choke cherry?
Blackberry, black cherry.
All right. What kind of bark does it have? Does it have like strips going around in a circle,
No,
little peck holes in it, or
no.
or it's the other kind?
It's a smooth, regular bark. It's a smooth bark.
It's got more like an oak-looking bark to it, or is it real
Yeah, kind of like an oak,
smooth bark with it looks like strips going around in strips, kind of like.
but they're not going around. They're
Has-
going down, up and down.
Can you see that
You're
flower?
Click
Looks
on
like
it and get
bottle
bigger.
brush.
Show bigger image. That flower
Oh.
don't mean
Hold on. You can't see
I see it,
let's
yeah.
see, full screen. Hold on. Okay.
that's a black cherry.
Yeah, that's a
There you
black
go.
cherry.
Well, what I'm getting at, Tom, is we call it a choke cherry and an American cherry. The American cherry's got a bark that's kind of a little flake to it. That's the one that's good cherry furniture. Then you got the choke cherry, which is sort of like a smooth ribbon strip, going in a circle motion around the tree. That's junk tree.
Okay, I don't know that tree.
I think the person that made the comment about the Bradford pear having big spikes, I think I do recall that it did have a pretty big thorn on it. Oh, funny story.
So-
Where I worked, we had a courtyard, and they put a couple picnic tables out there, and they planted these Bradford pears around there. Well, one is, like you said, they stunk like crazy, and then all of a sudden we had flocks of birds that were staying in there. And what do birds do? They poop over everything. So they planted these gorgeous trees, and within like 2 years they ended up cutting them all down. But yeah, they were pretty to look at, but if I remember correctly, they stunk really bad.
Huh. Now I don't know what kind of trees I have. Now I'm all confused. I thought these were native cherries that I had.
Nancy, I think you got the thornberry tree.
Yeah, Thornberry Drive. That's where I live. That's
Yeah.
what they look like. This is what they
They
look
got
like.
looks like little cherries or little pits, and they
Yeah.
got thorns on. When they're young, they got thorns on them.
Yes. So is this a good tree? Is this
It's
a
a-
native tree?
It's a native tree. I don't know. I think it's actually bees love them. I think. I don't know what kind of honey it makes.
All I see is a blue screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
My neighbor
Aw.
has a couple big old ones. The bees hit it when it blooms, which is like right now.
Yes. So this is what we trimmed up and let grow is this. And I thought these were native cherry trees, but it appears that I am mistaken. Because it
Yeah,
looks
there's
like
a
they have little
thornberry. Yeah, see the needles coming up. That's a thornberry tree.
yeah.
Yeah, thornhorn tree.
Huh. So
They
the
grow
trees
anywhere from Midwest up
mountain.
Northeast.
So, Doug, are you saying that you had a bunch of what's them trees called? Everybody doesn't like Bradford pears.
Crab apple or
The Bradford pear.
yeah, Bradford pear.
Talking about Bradford pears, Doug. Put in there choke cherry tree bark, and that's how I go by. I go by the bark.
Yeah, the barks looks too much the same for me. Bark of a choke
Cherry tree.
Chokeberry. There's a common chokeberry tree too.
It's what?
Common chokeberry tree. That's another native tree.
Not a chokeberry.
Hold on. You guys are moving too
Here, let
fast
me.
for me.
I'll share it if you want.
Yeah, you can. You're in the studio here, so you can share. Here's chokeberry.
That's what I'm showing. You see that?
Hold on. Here we go. Here we go.
You have to click on mine.
I have to hold on. I got to get rid of.
Chokeberry.
You have to click
Hold
on
on.
mine. That's choke cherry. See how it's got the one that says choke cherry kind of, it goes in, it's like those
Oh,
things are in strips going around and around and around.
I see that.
All right. That is a trash cherry tree. It does have cherries on it, but not the kind that you want to eat. It's crappy.
Huh.
You can get rid of that. And then I'll put in cherry tree bark.
Oh.
no, it's not native in my area. That's why I've never seen it. No, it is in Ohio.
All right. I'm going to share another one here. All right. You see that or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that on there? Now that is a cherry tree. See how the
That's a
bark kind of looks like an oak tree bark?
That's black cherry.
That's black cherry or that's American cherry.
Yeah.
That cherry tree is the one you get cherry furniture out of. That's got the wood is hard.
It's a big tree.
Choke cherry is kind of like it's not bright red and it's sort of like a pine as far as being sort of soft. It ain't real soft like pine, but it's not desirable to make any furniture out of. So anyway, all right, that's all I wanted to show you.
All right, guys, I'm pushing 3 hours.
All right, well, go back to the screen.
Right?
There we go. All right, you can shut down if you like.
All right. Good night. We'll see you
night, everyone.
tomorrow. Hold on. I always try to do this. So tomorrow is horizontal hives. It's
8:30.
8:30.
yeah, 8:30. His is late. What's name? Ricky Rourke.
Yeah.
And then Friday is Charlie.
I'll be
So
remotely from Virginia.
oh, it's Bill's class.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And I just got the phone call today about going to Georgia, which turned out it's going to be, I think, May the 4th when I leave, which is a Sunday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's a little bit later than what we normally do, but I'll be gone 4th, 5th, and 6th. So
you won't have a chat that night?
no, I won't be on Bill's chat on a Monday night.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know. Right.
We
I didn't know
travel
what
on a
day of the week.
Sunday, travel 12 hours on a Sunday, get down, lay over, hang out on a Monday, and then we pick up
I didn't know what.
the
what day
bees,
before.
a truckload of bees on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then 12 hours back. I think it's going to be the last trip down for us.
Yeah.
Oh, Lloyd's getting older and it's a
You need
nuisance.
to sell more nukes, Charlie. Sell
Well,
those,
that's
sell
what
those
he likes.
overwintered.
He already got his load of nukes. He had 265 nukes along with probably 60, 70 queens come in. And that's what's nice about that is the fact that the nukes and the queens all come up on the truck. No mailing or anything.
Mhm.
And the queens are, you don't have all that. They got beekeepers taking care of the queens and they're coming up the road where you don't have the stress on them queens like you do if you try to mail them, which is pretty darn nice. So, all right. Anyway.
All right. Good night, guys. Thanks for
We'll
coming.
see you later. See you, Kirk. See you, Tom.
Night.